The latest archaeological discoveries in China that are shocking the world. Welcome back to Ancient History, the channel where we explore the unsolved mysteries of the past and present. Have you ever wondered what lies deep beneath the ground in China, a land with a civilization that spans thousands of years? If you thought all its secrets had already been uncovered, get ready, because recent archaeological discoveries are about to leave you speechless. In today's video, we're going to take a closer look at the latest archaeological finds in China, discoveries that have not only shocked experts but stunned the entire world. From mysterious ancient tombs and perfectly preserved artifacts that are thousands of years old, to traces of evidence that could potentially rewrite human history. Sounds fascinating, doesn't it? Join me as we dive into each discovery to uncover what's waiting for us beneath the dust of time. Make sure to keep your eyes on the screen, because the deeper we go, the more unbelievable it gets. And now, let's begin with the first discovery. The world's heaviest 2,400-year-old ancient coffin. When it comes to Chinese archaeology, it's nearly impossible to determine which ancient tomb is the most magnificent or extravagant. Numerous ancient tombs have been unearthed, each containing countless priceless burial artifacts, such as the Sanxing Dui site, the Mawang Dui tombs, or the tomb of Marquis Hai Hun. These discoveries have yielded an astonishing number of national treasures. However, if you ask which tomb contains the heaviest coffin ever discovered, the answer would most likely be the coffin from the tomb of Marquis Yi of Zeng, located in Suzhou, Hubei Province, China. The discovery of Marquis Yi's tomb shook the entire country, as its scale was several times larger than that of the famous Han Dynasty Mawang Dui tombs in Changsha. Excavated over an area of approximately 2,370 square feet, the tomb revealed countless national treasures, such as the Zhenghu Yi bronze bells, a jade pendant carved with 16 dragon and phoenix motifs, and a bronze crane standing on a deer's antlers. These are all invaluable artifacts that have drawn significant attention from the archaeological community. But beyond the artifacts, the colossal coffin found inside the tomb stunned experts just as much. The coffin was massive in size, and when archaeologists measured it, they could hardly believe their eyes. It weighed nearly 20,000 pounds. This astonishing figure made it the heaviest coffin ever found in any ancient tomb worldwide. Many questions arose. How could people from 2,400 years ago, with limited technology, possibly move such a massive object? Even today, the excavation team had to use multiple cranes just to lift it. At one point, an 8-ton crane was deployed in an attempt to hoist the coffin, but instead of the coffin moving, the crane's tail end was lifted off the ground. The coffin lid alone weighed around 4,400 pounds, leaving archaeologists in absolute disbelief. One side of the coffin features a small door, which is believed to have served as a passageway for the spirit of Marquis Yi to enter and exit. Marquis Yi, the tomb's owner, was known as the king of the state of Zeng, also called the state of Sui, a vassal of the Zhou dynasty during the spring and autumn and warring states periods. According to historical records, Zeng was a small state neighboring the powerful kingdom of Chu. Fearing annihilation by the Chu king, Marquis Yi offered annual tributes of gold, treasures, and beautiful women to appease him. However, after Marquis Yi died from illness, his successors lacked valuable tributes to present to Chu. As a result, the king of Chu eventually destroyed the Zeng state. Further research by archaeologists and historians revealed another disturbing fact. Marquis Yi was, in reality, an extremely dishonorable individual. Many of the unearthed artifacts bore his name, but upon closer inspection, signs of tampering and re-engraving were found. For instance, on one of his bronze plates, experts discovered the name of his maternal grandfather had been scratched out and replaced with his own name, an act considered deeply disrespectful and unfilial in ancient times. Perhaps even more shocking, in addition to the 9-ton coffin, 22 other coffins were discovered in the tomb. Among them, 21 belonged to young women, the oldest being just 26 years old, and the youngest around 13. The tallest was approximately 5 feet 3 inches, and the shortest just over 4 feet 7 inches. In one of the coffins, archaeologists even found the remains of a dog, which seemed to be a beloved pet of Marquis Yi. Were these 21 young women buried alive to accompany Marquis Yi in the afterlife? Many experts believe so. If true, it paints a horrifying picture of ancient burial customs, sacrificing innocent lives to follow royalty into death. Such cruel practices persisted even into the Qing dynasty. Truly terrifying, isn't it? A massive treasure and a mysterious liquid found in a 3,000-year-old ancient tomb. In a remote area of northern Shanxi province, China, where the land seemed to have slept undisturbed beneath layers of earth and time for thousands of years, archaeologists made a stunning discovery. They unearthed a vast ancient burial site, awakening an entire civilization that once thrived over 3,000 years ago. This ancient tomb complex, known as Beibai Nia, may sound unfamiliar at first, but it's far more than just another site filled with ancient relics. What it revealed was truly jaw-dropping. A massive treasure trove of more than 500 rare artifacts, and most astonishingly, a sealed bronze vessel containing a mysterious liquid that had been perfectly preserved for millennia. So, what made this liquid the center of academic fascination across the globe? And what does it reveal about a once glorious society that existed more than 3 millennia ago? Let's dive deeper. The excavation, one of the largest ever conducted in the region, uncovered 9 primary tombs, 17 ash pits, and over 500 valuable artifacts, both materially and spiritually significant. These treasures included intricately crafted bronze objects, a hallmark of metallurgy during the Zhou dynasty, along with jade, gemstones, lacquerware, and notably, gold. Each artifact serves as a puzzle piece, helping us reconstruct the vibrant picture of a once flourishing civilization in Shanxi, from its spiritual life and social structure to its belief systems and royal authority. However, what truly stunned scientists wasn't the volume of artifacts, but 2 seemingly ordinary bronze vessels, which had remained sealed tightly for over 3,000 years. When one of the vessels was carefully opened, what lay inside defied all expectations. Instead of dust or remnants long turned to ash, it contained a clear, transparent liquid, unlike anything previously found in tombs from the same era. Samples of the liquid were immediately sent to a laboratory for analysis, and the results left everyone speechless. The mysterious substance turned out to be a fermented fruit wine, complete with volatile organic compounds and organic acids consistent with traditional alcohol brewing processes. This represents one of the earliest physical pieces of evidence for winemaking ever discovered. But beyond its archaeological value, the discovery offers a new lens into ancient life. The careful production and preservation of fruit wine suggests that Zhou-era society had achieved an advanced level of organization in agricultural management, food fermentation, and ritual practices. Back then, wine wasn't just a beverage. It held deep spiritual significance, used in ancestral worship and ceremonial offerings. Through these preserved drops of ancient wine, we feel as though we're touching the heartbeat of the past, witnessing the craftsmanship, reverence, and spiritual devotion of a people who honored their ancestors with the utmost care. Remarkably, this is not the first time mysterious liquids have been found in ancient Chinese tombs. Previously, in Sanmenxia, Henan Province, archaeologists uncovered a 2,000-year-old tomb containing a bronze vessel filled with a yellowish-brown liquid with visible impurities. Upon analysis, this substance turned out not to be wine, but an ancient medicinal mixture believed to treat bleeding and inflammation, a testament to the advanced state of ancient Chinese medicine. Findings like these highlight not only the sophisticated craftsmanship of the time, but also the richness of cultural, religious, and medical practices across China's ancient dynasties. Each excavation is like opening a door through time, and this time, that door has revealed one of the most significant discoveries in modern Chinese archaeology. From bronze and gold artifacts to a 3,000-year-old liquid preserved in perfect condition, everything seems to speak to us like a vivid message from the ancestors. They once lived, created, and left behind a boundless cultural legacy. And with every archaeological step forward, we inch closer to unlocking humanity's greatest historical mysteries. Are you feeling the same sense of awe that I am? If so, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A mysteriously glowing national treasure found in a 4,000-year-old tomb. Located to the north of the Luo River, Erlitou is a small agricultural village in the city of Yanxi, China, with a long-standing tradition of wheat and rice farming. Despite its sparse population and limited infrastructure, life in Erlitou has always been peaceful and quiet. But in the summer of 1959, a renowned archaeologist named Xu Shusheng made a chance discovery during a field project that changed everything. The small village of Erlitou held within it a vast and unexplored wealth of ancient history. Since then, Erlitou has become a focal point of China's archaeological boom and was officially recognized as a major national historical and cultural site. Over more than 50 years of excavation, Chinese archaeologists have achieved remarkable success. Based on years of research, the site was named the Erlitou Ruins. Covering an area of nearly 740 acres, the site is divided into a central zone and surrounding activity areas, complete with roads and architectural structures. Numerous artifacts have been uncovered here, revealing secrets from thousands of years of Chinese civilization. One of the most astonishing moments came during a comprehensive research project on the origins and early development of Chinese civilization, conducted between 2001 and 2016. During this time, a 4,000-year-old tomb at the Erlitou site revealed a truly extraordinary discovery, a glowing national treasure, unlike anything found before. The tomb, with its unique design and collection of rare artifacts, indicated that the person buried there once held a very high status in ancient society. However, since the tomb was only discovered in 1959, many parts had already been damaged or deteriorated. Yet, in the center of the dark burial chamber, a mysterious green object remained intact, emitting a faint glow. This national treasure turned out to be a turquoise dragon statue, approximately 25.5 inches long, made from over 2,000 small turquoise fragments of various shapes. The smallest pieces measured just 0.08 inches in diameter and 0.04 inches thick. The dragon's body shimmered with vibrant colors, lying on the ground with its tail curled. Its long head featured two round eyes made of glittering jade, a gracefully arched nose in a crescent shape with interwoven white and green tones, and a garlic bulb-shaped nose tip carved from turquoise. The statue's design showcased astonishing craftsmanship, with every detail refined to perfection, solid proof of the remarkable skill of ancient artisans. According to scientists, this artifact represents the oldest known dragon-shaped object ever found in China and is regarded as a one-of-a-kind national treasure. Unlike modern preferences for gold and jade, turquoise was considered a precious gemstone during the Xia and Shang dynasties, used primarily by nobles. Therefore, tombs decorated with turquoise were almost always those of high-ranking individuals in ancient society. In Chinese culture, the dragon is a sacred creature symbolizing power, authority, and divine royalty. However, this turquoise dragon breaks from the traditional imposing imagery. It appears instead as a free-spirited, graceful dragon, a rare depiction among the dragon artifacts unearthed in China to date. The discovery of this glowing national treasure at Erlitou has sparked heated debate among archaeologists. Still, most scholars agree that the turquoise dragon may represent the earliest and most direct cultural origin of the Chinese dragon and is a vital piece of evidence in tracing the roots of Chinese civilization. Scholars and experts were thrilled by the find and collectively named the artifact the Chinese dragon. They believe it serves as the clearest proof of the nation's 5,000-year history and possibly the most direct and authentic origin of the dragon totem of the Chinese people. The mysterious coffin that foiled tomb raiders 9 times in a row. When people think of Xi'an, the capital of Shanxi Province, China, they often picture the famous terracotta army guarding the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. But few realize that this ancient land holds far more secrets than even a living museum could display. Xi'an was once the imperial capital of 13 dynasties, bearing the imprints of brilliant emperors, legendary generals, and some of the greatest cultural and architectural achievements in Chinese civilization. Because of this rich history, every time a new construction project is launched in Xi'an today, engineers and workers proceed with extreme caution. Each strike of the shovel, each foot of soil removed, could uncover a long-lost treasure, or even an undocumented ancient tomb buried beneath the earth. And in the 1960s, one such discovery shook the archaeological world, triggered by a seemingly ordinary slab of green stone. During construction of a new industrial zone in Xi'an, a crew of workers stumbled upon a strange stone slab buried deep underground. Realizing its unusual nature, they immediately notified the local Department of Culture. A professional archaeological team was dispatched to the site. When they lifted the slab, no one could have predicted what lay beneath: the entrance to a massive ancient tomb. The archaeologists stood in awe, as though a door to history itself had cracked open after thousands of years. But their excitement didn't last long. Surrounding the tomb were 9 separate signs of illegal excavation. Grave robbers had gotten there first. And worse yet, it seemed the tomb had been thoroughly looted. Their worst fears were confirmed. Inside, the tomb was completely empty. No burial offerings, no precious relics, except for one enormous coffin weighing nearly 6,600 pounds. Most likely, the tomb raiders had no way of moving it due to its immense weight and had to leave it behind. Archaeologists decided to focus all efforts on this mysterious coffin. When they finally opened it, they discovered the remains of a third-rank official from the Tang dynasty. Not royalty, but still someone of considerable importance. Yet the biggest surprise was still to come. As a crane was brought in to lift the heavy coffin, what lay hidden beneath it left everyone stunned. A hidden treasure trove of over 80 ancient ceramic statues buried directly under the base of the coffin. These were Tang Sankai figures, glazed ceramics in 3 primary colors that originated in the Tang dynasty and are considered the pinnacle of ancient Chinese pottery art. Clearly, the tomb's owner had gone to great lengths to hide his most valuable treasures in a place no one would expect. He used no traps, no piles of gold or jewels left in plain sight. Instead, he chose a far more cunning strategy, concealing what mattered most beneath the most inaccessible spot of all. This clever tactic, hiding in plain sight, successfully tricked the tomb raiders. Thanks to this, over 80 precious statues remained untouched for more than 1,000 years. True to their name, the Tang Sankai, meaning 3-colored Tang figures, were glazed in dominant tones of amber yellow, jade green, and ivory white. Each statue was a labor of love, requiring 2 complex rounds of kiln firing to achieve the vibrant, multicolored glaze that still dazzles the eye today. The statues depicted soldiers, camels, court ladies, and more, each crafted with exquisite detail that reflected the daily life, cultural tastes, and imperial power of the Tang dynasty. Today, these figures are not just archaeological artifacts. They are living evidence of a golden era of Chinese culture and a priceless legacy passed down not only to the Chinese people, but to all of humanity. Have you ever wondered if a 1,000-year-old secret might lie just beneath your feet? And how many more treasures might still be buried, waiting to be unearthed, not only in the sacred soil of Xi'an, but in hidden corners all across our world? 2,500-year-old ancient tomb containing 46 glowing female corpses. Have you ever imagined that one day, beneath the seemingly peaceful earth that has slumbered for thousands of years, there might lie a terrifying secret, so horrifying that it caused an entire archaeological team to scream in fear? This is not the plot of a horror movie, but a real-life event that took place in China in December 2006. A chance archaeological discovery revealed a dark secret buried for 2,500 years. In Shuiku Town, located in Jinghan County, Yichun City, Jiangxi Province, construction workers were using explosives to break rocks and build a highway. But right after the explosion, they immediately sensed something was off. The echoing sound was irregular, as if there was a hidden void beneath instead of solid earth and rock. Trusting their instincts, the workers stopped and reported their findings to local authorities. When they dug about 40 feet deeper, they were stunned to uncover a massive pit. Inside was an ancient tomb spanning more than 1,700 square feet. And the real horror was only beginning. Archaeologists were immediately dispatched to the site. After days of careful study, they confirmed that this was a tomb over 2,500 years old, dating back to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, specifically the mid to late spring and autumn period, one of the bloodiest and most chaotic eras in Chinese history. The tomb was rectangular, with a complex structure that sloped from east to north, suggesting it might have belonged to a noble or someone of extremely high status and power. But what truly shocked the researchers was the number of coffins inside. Not 1, not 2, but 47 coffins were neatly arranged within the tomb. The largest coffin, believed to belong to the tomb's owner, measured approximately 10.4 feet in length. Though the main skeleton had almost completely decayed, the remnants were enough to paint a haunting picture of the past. Exquisite jewelry, gold, silver, jade, hundreds of woven fabrics, and most notably, an ancient sword measuring 26 inches with both hilt and scabbard still intact. Experts classified it as a national treasure based on its craftsmanship and preservation. However, the true horror began when experts opened the remaining coffins. Inside the 46 identical coffins were the bodies of young women, all estimated to be between 15 and 20 years old. They were all naked, loosely wrapped in simple bamboo mats. Their faces showed expressions of agony and terror, as if they had suffered incredibly brutal deaths. Even more disturbingly, at night, the bodies glowed. Scientists were baffled, as nothing like this had ever been recorded in the history of Chinese archaeology. After thorough analysis, they proposed a chilling theory. The tomb likely belonged to King Zhongwu, a ruler of the ancient state of Shu, a vassal state that existed from the Xia to the Western Zhou dynasties. The 46 young women were believed to be slaves who were buried alive in a cruel ritual known as human sacrifice, practiced in ancient feudal societies. This ritual, called peizong, funerary sacrifice, involved forcing servants, usually young women, to die along with their deceased master so they could continue to serve him in the afterlife. These girls were believed to be palace weavers. They were made to ingest poison-laced melon seeds, dying in agony, and were then buried alive alongside the king. The high level of toxins in their bodies is thought to be the reason their remains were so well preserved over 2,500 years. But what about the glowing phenomenon? Experts later discovered that the corpses contained iron phosphate crystals, a rare compound capable of luminescence. These crystals formed through a unique combination of toxins in their bodies and the region's underground water system, resulting in an eerie glow, like ghostly emeralds, visible in the dark. This phenomenon had never before been documented in archaeological history, leaving scientists stunned. They admitted that we still know very little about the mysteries buried in the past. The excavation of the ancient tomb in Jiangxi not only revealed immense archaeological value, but also opened a window into a bloody chapter of history, one where human lives were treated as mere objects. A chilling, brutal past, but also a reminder of how far humanity has evolved, from darkness into light. And sometimes, the most terrifying secrets lie just beneath our feet, waiting to be unearthed. 6 scariest ancient tombs recently discovered that challenge. Everything we know about human history. The ancient tomb, sealed by the spirits of 50 virgin souls. Have you ever heard of a land where simply stepping foot could cause you to get lost forever, unless someone rescues you? A place once known as a haunted sacred ground, sealed by the spirits of 50 virgins buried alive? It sounds like a horror legend, but this is a true story, documented in numerous historical records, archaeological findings, and folk memories that have lasted for hundreds of years. This is the Dong Thek Ancient Tomb, one of the most mysterious archaeological sites in northwest Vietnam. Humbly nestled in the mountains of Kim Boi District, Hoa Binh Province, the Dong Thek Stone Tombs in Vinh Dong Commune are not only an important archaeological site, but also the center of chilling legends tied to the powerful Quan Long family that once ruled over Myeongdong. During the feudal era, Myeongdong was one of the 4 great Muong regions of the ancient Muong land, governed by a system of Lang Dao rulers. Among them, the Din family, later renamed Din Kung, held supreme power. According to surviving documents, from the 8th generation onward, the leader Din Kung Ki was granted the title Admiral of Splendor and Prosperity by King Lei, becoming a vassal commanding 7 villages in the area. Under the rule of this family across many generations, their power gradually became absolute, and from there emerged legends filled with mystery, blood, and tears. The most infamous and chilling story revolves around the funeral of one powerful Lang ruler. When he passed away, dozens of strong elephants were summoned from Than region to haul stones for his tomb. But what happened next turned the funeral into a bloody ritual. 5 elephants, 7 servants, 50 male attendants, and 50 virgins were all buried alive alongside the Lang to serve him in the afterlife. Legend says these people were not killed immediately. For the first 100 days, they were supplied with food and water through bamboo tubes inserted into the tomb. After that, all the ventilation holes were sealed, leaving them to die slowly in despair. It is believed that the restless souls of these victims became the guardians of the tomb, sealing the ancient site for centuries. Since then, Dong Thek has become a sacred and eerie place in the minds of local people. Elders still warn that anyone daring enough to steal a rope used to tie the stones or to slash the stone tombs with a knife will be cursed by the spirits to become disoriented, forever lost inside the tomb area, even though it only spans about the length of a loud shout. Some say a family once secretly buried their relatives' remains here, only to fall into madness for unknown reasons. It wasn't until a ritual master performed a ceremony and relocated the remains that peace was restored. From an archaeological perspective, the Dongthek Stone Tomb Complex is truly a treasure trove. Excavations between 1972 and 1975, and later in 1984 by the Vietnam Archaeology Institute, uncovered a total of 22 ancient tombs divided into two zones. Zone A, with 15 large tombs featuring stone rows and numerous valuable burial artifacts, and Zone B, with 7 smaller tombs. The tombs were protected by thick stone fences, with stone pillars 3 to 10 feet tall at the head of each tomb. Beneath the tombs were not only everyday items, but also elephant bones, horse bones, figurines, ceramics, bronze objects, and rare silver relics. Inside several tombs, numerous Dongseon bronze drums were found, undeniable evidence of the brilliant development of the Hua Bin culture during the feudal era. Artifacts recovered included 207 ceramic items such as bowls, plates, jars, and basins. 260 bronze artifacts including coins, mirrors, bracelets, and earrings, and especially many priceless items of spiritual and cultural significance. In 1997, the Dongthek Ancient Tomb was recognized as a national-level archaeological historical site. However, due to a lack of comprehensive investment, it remains largely off the cultural tourism map for many. Meanwhile, what remains of the site is not only of archaeological value, but also represents the intersection of folk beliefs, feudal power, and the tragedy of forgotten lives. Legends of the 50 Virgins, the Lost Howls, and the Lang ruler's curse still quietly live on in the memories of the Hmong people, in every stone pillar, and in the morning mist that shrouds Dongthek. But how many truths still lie buried beneath the ground? How many other ancient tombs in Hoa Binh province, or in Vietnam in general, remain hidden by time? It's hard to say, but hopefully in the future, experts and archaeologists will uncover these secrets. The vampire tomb of an 18-year-old girl in Poland. Right on Halloween 2024, a time when people talk a lot about horror stories, legends of spirits and vampires, a truly shocking archaeological discovery was announced in Poland. Not a movie, not a legend, but clear physical evidence linked to a life that existed over 350 years ago. Zosia, a young woman who died at just 18, yet carried the haunting fear of an entire community. This woman, called a vampire, was discovered in 2022 at an ancient cemetery in Pien, Poland. Researchers named her Zosia. Reconstruction images show that this 18-year-old girl had fair skin, blue eyes, short hair, and a protruding canine tooth. She was also buried with a silk cap, a sign of noble status. However, her high rank couldn't save her when she was accused of being a demon. Among roughly 100 skeletons found in the cemetery, only Zosia's was buried with a sickle placed across her neck and a padlock fastened tightly on her toe. Professor Dariusz Polinsky, the lead researcher, shared with the Daily Mail, "It's plausible to assume that for some reason, the people who buried her feared she would come back to life from the grave. Maybe they believed she was a vampire." Experts believe that the sickle and large lock were a double protective measure for the villagers, preventing the corpse from rising from the dead. The sickle would be positioned to decapitate or injure her neck if she tried to sit up. Bone scans of Zosia, conducted by Dr. Heather Edgar from the University of New Mexico, revealed an abnormality in her sternum, indicating she might have had a painful deformity, something that could have caused her to be seen as evil and led to suspicions of vampirism. At that time, a war between Sweden and Poland was ongoing, and researchers believe Zosia may have been Swedish and considered unlucky. About 30 of the 100 graves showed signs of being tied up, which is why the site has been called the Vampire Field. Polinsky explained that this cemetery was reserved for those excluded from the community, and none of the graves had tombstones or any record of identity. Smithsonian Magazine reports that Eastern Europeans began fearing vampires in the 11th century, believing some of the dead would claw their way out of the earth to come back as bloodsuckers terrorizing the living. By the 17th century, unusual burial rituals became widespread throughout Poland to deal with reports of vampire sightings, and the findings in this ancient tomb provide compelling evidence of that. The 200-year-old tomb of a pregnant woman buried alive. Throughout human history, there are heartbreaking stories that not only send chills down our spines, but also tighten our hearts at the cruel fate of individuals. One such tearful mystery comes from an ancient tomb in Heilongjiang, China, where archaeologists recently unearthed a coffin holding a shocking story. A woman mistakenly believed dead during a life-threatening childbirth was buried alive, lying in darkness for 200 years. When the coffin was finally opened, the tragic scene inside left everyone who witnessed it deeply moved. First, it's important to understand that during that time, although war and disease claimed many lives, the greatest danger for women was childbirth. Historically, giving birth was never simple, especially in remote rural areas and ancient societies with limited medical knowledge. It was once believed that having many children was a blessing and a hope for old age, but this came with countless risks, particularly when women were pressured to keep having children until a son was born, as sons were traditionally valued more than daughters. In such a context, this woman faced intense pain in the final months of her pregnancy. Losing consciousness in a critical condition, her family mistakenly thought she had died, leading to her hurried burial in a coffin, unaware she was still alive. When archaeologists excavated this tomb, although the surrounding area had been looted and most burial items were gone, the coffin remained intact. Inside was the body of a woman curled up in a way unlike any skeleton previously found. The sight evoked the image of a living person trapped in a cold coffin, struggling to the very last moment before breathing ceased. Thanks to modern technology and equipment, scientists have been able to reconstruct the tragic story of this woman. During her last months of pregnancy, she endured a difficult labor, which caused temporary unconsciousness. The heartbreaking mistake by her family led to her being buried alive. During the time she regained consciousness but couldn't escape, she struggled in despair, experiencing her final moments filled with pain and tragedy. This story is not only a warning about past misunderstandings and errors, but also a profound lesson in respecting life and the right to protection, especially in life's most fragile moments. Over time, with advances in medicine and science, we are increasingly able to illuminate mysteries once thought lost to history, helping prevent similar tragedies from recurring. The story of the woman in the ancient coffin is not just a reminder of life's fragility, but also a symbol of humanity, compassion, and reverence for souls who suffered in the shadows of history. From such painful stories, humanity learns invaluable lessons about life, death, and how we should treat one another, with humanity and deep empathy. A 3,000-year-old tomb reveals the tragic life of a Shang dynasty general. In November 2000, archaeologists from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences began a preliminary survey at a site near Anyang City, Henan Province, in central China. They used a special tool called the Luoyang shovel, originally invented by tomb raiders and later adopted by archaeologists, to dig through the hard soil during the cold winter. The site contained traces related to Yinshu, the last capital of the Shang dynasty, which is the earliest dynasty in China confirmed by historical evidence. They identified a tomb labeled M54. As the weather grew colder, the team decided to postpone excavation until spring, waiting for the ice to thaw. But by mid-December, news of the tomb discovery had spread, attracting tomb raiders. Worried the tomb would be looted, the archaeologists sped up their work. It took 1 week to clear the soil from the top of the tomb, and what they uncovered was astonishing. Beneath the ground was a large burial pit, perfectly preserved, containing the remains of a noble from the late Shang dynasty. The earthen walls of the tomb stood nearly 6 feet tall and surrounded a room built with black lacquered wood. Inside was a dark red lacquered coffin, surrounded by countless burial objects, including 15 human sacrificial victims and 15 sacrificial dogs, as well as everyday items meant for use in the afterlife. After 40 days of excavation, the team uncovered 579 artifacts made of bronze, jade, pottery, stone, bone, shells, bamboo, ivory, and gold leaf. In terms of quantity, M54 is the second largest tomb excavated at Yinshu, second only to the tomb of Fu Hao, queen to King Wu Ding of the Shang dynasty and a famous female general of ancient China. In the following years, the artifacts were cleaned, restored, and analyzed, providing archaeologists with detailed insights into the aristocratic life of one of the most powerful and earliest kingdoms in China. Bronze artifacts were the most common finds at Shang sites. Tomb M54 contained 256 bronze items, the most notable being a bronze wine vessel shaped like a water buffalo. The vessel measures about 15.7 inches long, 20.7 inches wide, and 8.9 inches high from lid to base, weighing 15.7 pounds. The lid and body of the vessel were initially found in two separate places in the room, with the body shattered into many fragments. Wang Haoyi, the technician in charge of restoration, painstakingly pieced the fragments together, fabricated missing parts, and welded everything to restore its original shape. The vessel is modeled after the wild water buffalo, also known as the short-horned buffalo, which once roamed from the central China plains to the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River. This species is now extinct, but their bones are commonly found at Yinshu. Another remarkable item is a jade dagger measuring 10 inches long, between 1.1 and 1.3 inches wide, and 0.2 inches thick. You might not know this, but Ye Shuxian, head of the Chinese Mythology Association and an expert on jade, once said that jade worship is a hallmark of Chinese civilization, underscoring how precious and important jade was at that time. Tomb M54 contained 224 jade artifacts, second only to the number of bronze items. At Yinshu, jade artifacts are usually found in royal and noble tombs, with only a few pieces appearing in commoners' graves. This makes the large number of jade artifacts in M54 a strong indicator of the high status of the tomb's owner during his lifetime. Like many other objects in the tomb, the jade dagger is evidence of the Shang dynasty's developed craftsmanship. Craftsmen of the time inherited and refined jade carving techniques. The jade pieces all display intricate designs, symmetrical patterns, and fine details. Among all the artifacts found in M54, a bronze hand is the most puzzling. In nearly a century of excavations at Yinshu, scientists have never discovered anything like it. Some believe it was used to retrieve meat from cauldrons during sacrificial rituals. Others suspect it might have been a scepter or even a back scratcher. According to He Yuling, the excavation leader, the bronze hand could be a prosthetic. The tomb's owner had lost part of his arm, and the fake hand was buried near his body. It's possible the man lost his hand before death, so his descendants buried the bronze prosthetic with him. However, whether he actually used this arm while alive remains unknown. He Yuling also emphasized, "This is just speculation, as archaeology often leaves many unsolved mysteries, which is part of its fascination." So, who exactly was buried in Tomb M54? The answer is relatively simple. All 131 bronze artifacts excavated from the tomb are inscribed with the characters Ya Zhang or Zhang. In the Shang dynasty, Ya referred to a military general, while Zhang could be a family name. Therefore, the tomb likely belongs to General Zhang, who was also the clan chief. The impressive collection of weapons in the tomb, including 7 bronze axes, speaks to General Zhang's military achievements. The largest axe weighs about 13.1 pounds and is decorated with intricate patterns. It shows signs of wear, proving it was used in battle. Modern scientific techniques provide further clues about the tomb. Strontium and oxygen isotope analysis of General Zhang's bones indicate he was not native to Yinshu, but came from a place more than 186 miles away. He died at the age of 35. His cause of death was unusual. 7 clear injuries were found on his skeleton, including 3 sharp cuts about 0.4 inches long on his upper left arm, wounds on the left ribs near the chest, and marks on the back of his thigh. The most severe wound pierced through the right pelvis with no sign of healing. The strangest discovery was the presence of many roasted Sichuan peppercorns in his remains. Sichuan pepper comes from a shrub native to what is now southwest China. It is used both as a spice in cooking and as a fragrant herb. Why would this spice be found in General Zhang's remains? Based on the injuries and burial goods, scientists speculate that General Zhang fought bravely at the front line until he was pierced by a spear in the abdomen. His body may have been fought over by opposing forces, resulting in the deep cuts on his left ribs. Eventually, his soldiers won, saving him from decapitation or mutilation, but they could not save his life. They brought his body back to the capital and used aromatic herbs to mask the smell. Upon returning to the capital, the Shang king ordered a grand burial for General Zhang, honoring his social status and military achievements. The nearly 4,000-year-old queen's tomb with a silver crown. Do you believe that over 3,800 years ago, a woman ruled a vast land in Europe, during a time when history still holds that power belonged only to men? If that sounds doubtful to you, let me tell you about an archaeological discovery that has stunned the scientific community. A tomb labeled Grave 38, buried deep beneath the earth in La Almoloya, southeastern Spain, part of the ancient El Argar civilization. In the early 21st century, during what seemed to be a routine survey of a familiar site, archaeologists unexpectedly touched the door of time. When the ancient tomb's lid was carefully lifted, two skeletons were found lying side by side in a peaceful yet solemn posture. One male, one female. But what shocked them was not the burial position. It was the dazzling treasures surrounding the woman's remains. Surrounded by more than 30 exquisitely crafted artifacts, mostly made of pure silver, a highly precious metal at that time, the woman in the tomb was not just an individual. She may have been the symbol of power for an entire civilization. And the detail that captured scientists' attention most was the silver crown resting right on her head. Not just a piece of jewelry, not merely a funerary item. It could be the symbol of supreme political authority and power. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? That perhaps this woman was a true queen? While the man beside her might have been a warrior or a partner buried with her, all archaeological eyes focus on this woman. Because never before has a tomb from the El Argar period revealed such clear political power held by a woman. This raises a major question. Has history been hiding the leadership roles of women in ancient civilizations? And Grave 38 might be the key to unlocking that door. Moreover, initial analyses suggest this woman did not die from illness or old age. Scientists are currently running DNA tests, examining bone traces, and comparing them with metal samples to determine her true identity. What do you think about this groundbreaking discovery? Could this be evidence that women held leadership roles since ancient times? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's discuss together. The 300-year-old tomb of a Chinese princess with a perfectly preserved body. In the 1970s, in Xicheng, an unforgiving land in Inner Mongolia, China, archaeologists began excavating an ancient tomb. At first, they thought it was just an ordinary noble's burial, but the moment they opened the main coffin, the entire team froze in shock. Before them lay the body of a woman wearing a dragon robe adorned with hundreds of pearls. Her face and body were nearly intact, with skin soft and elastic as if she were still alive. Such preservation had never been seen before in the Qing dynasty. And the strangest detail? The dragon robe, a garment reserved only for emperors. A woman wearing a dragon robe, in feudal law, was a grave offense punishable by extermination of 9 generations. So who was this woman? Why was she buried with such mysterious honor? After months of studying inscriptions, examining artifacts, and reconstructing history, her identity was finally confirmed. Princess Gulun Yingxian, the third beloved daughter of Emperor Kangxi, one of the greatest rulers in Chinese history. Born into luxury, as the daughter of the favored consort, Lady Ma, Princess Yingxian was deeply loved by her father. At just 9 years old, she was betrothed to the Prince of Balin County, a political marriage aimed at strengthening ties between the imperial court and the Inner Mongolian tribes. Though it was an arranged marriage, the princess later led a very happy life. She passed away in 1728 at the age of 56 and was posthumously honored with a pearl-embroidered dragon robe, a rare distinction no other princess in history had ever received. Her son, wishing to honor his mother, built a grand tomb in the grasslands, covering thousands of square meters, clearly reflecting the respect and status she held in life. However, one question remains unsolved to this day. How was the princess's body so perfectly preserved? No Egyptian-style mummification, no use of special chemicals. So what in the environment or ancient burial techniques caused her body to defy time? Experts even found traces of dried blood on her thigh, like a wound that hadn't healed before her death. This detail makes the story even more mysterious and difficult to explain. Ancient tomb, dragon robe, mummified body, all come together to paint a strange picture of a woman of special status, a glorious life, and a mysterious death. What do you think? Is this a secret buried for 300 years, only now revealed? Or are there still mysteries behind it that even the most skilled experts can't decode? 6. Mysterious archaeological discoveries that challenge everything you know about the ancient world. The skeleton of a Roman soldier who perished in one of history's most terrifying disasters. Throughout the course of human history, there have been moments so fateful that they buried not only entire cities, but also the destinies of thousands. One of the most horrifying disasters of all was the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, a catastrophic event that incinerated the two famed ancient cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum within mere hours. But more than 2 millennia later, in the layers of ash thought to be long forgotten, a poignant and tragic story unexpectedly came back to life. The story of a Roman soldier who died trying to save others amidst a sea of fire. In May 2021, at the site of Herculaneum, a once prosperous Roman port city near Naples, Italy, the skeleton of a Roman soldier was unearthed, along with a collection of valuable artifacts. What made this discovery extraordinary was that it wasn't simply the remains of another victim of a natural disaster. It was the trace of a true hero. In fact, this skeleton had first been discovered back in the early 1980s, but at the time it attracted little attention and was cataloged as just another casualty of the eruption. However, during a recent excavation, experts uncovered highly significant details. Part of a suit of armor still intact, a shoulder bag filled with small carpentry tools, and most notably, a leather belt adorned with silver and gold, found near a sword with an ivory hilt, 12 silver denarii, and 2 gold coins. These artifacts not only signified high status, but also hinted at the soldier's true identity. He may not have been an ordinary infantryman, but possibly a member of the Imperial Guard, one of the most elite units in the Roman military, responsible for both intelligence work and protecting high-ranking officials. Even more compelling, there's strong evidence suggesting that he may have been an officer in the rescue unit led by Pliny the Elder, the renowned historian and commander of the Roman Imperial Navy, who also perished while attempting to save civilians during that fateful eruption. The soldier's remains were found near the ancient shoreline, where archaeologists have uncovered more than 300 other skeletons. This haunting fact reveals that the people of Herculaneum tried to escape, likely by boat, but were ultimately overtaken by the scorching ash and toxic gases before they could flee to safety. And that soldier, with his dust-covered armor and partially preserved silver belt, may have perished in that very moment while helping others reach safety. This is not merely an impressive archaeological find. The skeleton of this Roman soldier carries a story of courage, a vivid symbol of duty and sacrifice from someone who lived over 2,000 years ago. In the chaos of ash and lava consuming everything in its path, he chose to stay behind, not to fight an enemy of flesh and blood, but to stand against a force far beyond human control, nature itself. Mummified child ate cactus before being sacrificed. Thousands of years ago in what is now Peru, a child was ritually sacrificed and beheaded as a trophy. Analysis of hair samples from the child's preserved head reveals that the victim had consumed hallucinogenic plants before death. Specifically, a team of researchers led by Dagmara Socha at the Andean Research Center of the University of Warsaw, Poland, excavated the remains as part of the Nazca Project, an archaeological initiative that began in 1982. While the child's exact age and gender at death remain unknown, the team reported that the child had consumed Echinopsis pachanoi, a spiny cactus known for its strong hallucinogenic properties. This plant has traditionally been used by indigenous South American peoples for medicinal and ritual purposes. The child's well-preserved head was one of 22 remains examined in the study, all associated with the ancient Nazca society. These individuals lived during the pre-Hispanic era, ranging from 3500 BCE to 476 CE, and were buried near the southern coastal region of Peru. Socha noted, "This trophy head is the first known case of an individual from Peru's southern coast who consumed Echinopsis pachanoi. It also provides the first evidence that some sacrificial victims were given psychoactive substances before death." In the course of their research, Socha and her colleagues collected hair samples from 4 trophy heads, 3 of which belonged to adults, and from 18 mummified remains of both children and adults. Analysis of these samples revealed that many had ingested hallucinogenic substances, including Echinopsis pachanoi, San Pedro cactus, coca leaves, which contain cocaine, and Banisteriopsis kaapi, a plant rich in harmine, the primary ingredient in ayahuasca, a powerful hallucinogenic brew used by indigenous Amazonian cultures. These psychoactive compounds were used in the Nazca civilization between approximately 100 BCE and 450 CE. While researchers have found significant evidence that these plants played medicinal and religious roles, the broader scope of their use within Nazca society remains unclear. Additionally, the team uncovered numerous burial artifacts tied to Nazca culture, including textiles, pottery, weaving tools, and chuspas, small woven pouches traditionally used to carry coca leaves. While the exact purposes of these items during the individual's lifetimes are still uncertain, the discoveries offer valuable insights into the daily life, belief systems, and ritual practices of the ancient Nazca people. The 200-year-old golden tomb of a young Panamanian lord and 31 mysterious bodies. There is a place where death is not the end of a person's journey, but the beginning of a powerful ritual. A place where the death of one individual can lead to the burial of dozens more, not from illness, not from accident, but because they were chosen. This is exactly what was recently uncovered at El Caño Archaeological Park, located in Nata District, Cocle Province, Panama, holding a secret buried for more than a millennium. When the archaeological team led by Dr. Julia Mayo began excavating what appeared to be an ordinary area of the park, they had no idea they were about to unveil a dramatic and chilling chapter of the Cocle civilization, a vibrant culture that flourished in Panama from around 200 BC to 1550 AD. During the excavation, archaeologists discovered an extraordinarily lavish tomb believed to be the final resting place of a young lord who lived around 750 to 800 AD. But what stunned the world was not just the tomb's age, but the way this leader was buried, alongside at least 31 other bodies. Yes, you read that right. 31 bodies were found scattered or piled together in the same burial chamber, and this was no coincidence. According to archaeological evidence, in ancient Cocle culture, nobles never departed alone. Close servants, wives, or favorite companions were often sacrificed to accompany their master into the afterlife. What gave the researchers goosebumps even more was that the Lord's body was found lying face down on top of a woman's body. Experts believe this was no random arrangement, but part of the burial ritual, symbolizing a sacred bond or permanent possession in the next world. But that wasn't all. This ancient tomb also concealed an invaluable archaeological treasure. Artifacts found include 2 belts made of gold beads, 4 bracelets, 2 human-shaped earrings, 1 crocodile-shaped earring, 1 beaded necklace, 5 earrings made from sperm whale teeth gilded in gold, 2 gold plates, 2 golden bells, bracelets and skirts made from dog teeth, and notably, a set of flutes crafted from human or animal bones. Do you notice anything unusual? Why teeth, bones, and gold? Researchers believe these items carry deep spiritual and ritual meaning, not just symbols of wealth, but representations of supernatural power carried by the deceased. For example, a crocodile-shaped earring may not be mere jewelry, but a symbol of power and connection to natural forces. The first images shared by Dr. Julia Mayo and Panama's Ministry of Culture sent waves through the archaeological community. They show solid gold sheets excavated, a small gold statue, and artifacts shaped like mythical creatures, each exuding an unprecedented mystery. Although 31 bodies have been found, this number may not be final. Excavations continue, and the team estimates that the total number of people buried together in this tomb could range from 8 to 32. However, it is impossible to identify specific individuals without detailed genetic analysis, as the bones have become very difficult to distinguish after more than 200 years. What concerns archaeologists is not just the quantity or wealth, but what these findings reveal about a hierarchical social structure, spiritual beliefs, and the sacred power in Cocle culture. A society where death was not simply an end, but an event, marked by ritual and organization, even involving the deaths of dozens more. So the question arises, is this worship of power, or the result of a society controlled by mystical beliefs to a brutal extent? And how many more tombs like this might still lie buried deep beneath Panama's soil, waiting to be brought to light? What do you think about the ritual of burying people alive to accompany their lord in this ancient civilization? Is it a symbol of absolute loyalty or cruelty justified by faith? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. 50 ancient graves and a silver treasure of the 1600-year-old Goths, just discovered in Poland. Deep within the dense forests of Bałty Landscape Park, a quiet nature reserve located in north-central Poland, lies a secret that has been sleeping for more than 16 centuries. No one could have guessed that beneath the ground covered with dry leaves and green moss was a vast ancient cemetery belonging to the Goths, one of the most powerful and mysterious tribes of ancient Europe. The story began quite by chance, but with dramatic intensity when Olaf Popkowicz, a well-known archaeology content creator on YouTube, planned to film a video along the WDA River for his channel. Instead of just capturing the natural scenery, he accidentally spotted 2 silver necklaces and 2 brooches with unusual designs sparkling under the sunlight. A small discovery, but enough to immediately alert professional archaeologists. As soon as the team arrived and began excavations, they uncovered a true historical treasure: 50 Gothic-style ancient graves buried with distinct funerary rituals, accompanied by a series of exquisite artifacts such as pottery, brooches, amber beads, and notably, silver jewelry featuring snake motifs, a common symbol in Gothic culture. What's remarkable is that these graves are not scattered randomly, but form a sizable cemetery, stretching over an area of more than 2,690 square feet. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Experts estimate the entire burial site could cover more than 2.47 acres, raising the question, could this have been the center of a long-established Gothic community in Poland during the 4th century? Based on the findings, researchers believe the Goths in this region were not just nomadic warriors, as often portrayed in historical records, but also skilled jewelers with a refined aesthetic sense. The meticulously carved jewelry bears religious, cultural, and social hierarchy symbols. Some artifacts reveal a clear blend of local culture with Roman influences, a fascinating detail reflecting the complex relationship between the Goths and the mighty Roman Empire. Imagine, while Europe was undergoing dramatic upheaval, here in Poland, the Goths were living, burying their ancestors, and crafting lasting jewelry. And if you think the Goths are only famous for sacking Rome in 410 AD, get ready to broaden your perspective. Before splitting into the Visigoths and Ostrogoths and building kingdoms in Spain and Italy, they once inhabited this part of Central Europe, quietly leaving traces for future generations through each amber bead, each silver brooch, and every grave covered with cold earth. But what makes this discovery so special? Not just the scale, but the incredible preservation of the artifacts. The silver necklaces remain intact, the patterns still sharp and unweathered, as if they were crafted only a few years ago, not buried underground for over 1,600 years. This discovery once again revives an age-old question in archaeology. How much do we really know about lost cultures? Each necklace or bead is more than just a personal item. It's a record of ancient beliefs, lifestyles, and values. And the most amazing thing is these items have waited centuries just to tell their stories to us today. Archaeologists are continuing to expand the excavation area. With every square foot turned over, there's hope for more astonishing revelations. It could be an ancient marketplace, a jewelry workshop, or even a site for old Gothic rituals. What about you? What do you think about this discovery? Those graves resting silently for thousands of years, could they still hold more secrets? And if you had the chance to walk through that forest, would you dare to pick up a small piece of silver and begin a journey of time-traveling discovery? The coffin inscribed with, "Whoever opens it will die," the 9-year-old princess of China. In the heart of modern-day Xi'an, a city that once served as the capital of several ancient Chinese dynasties, an unexpected event unfolded at a construction site. While digging the foundation for a new building, a group of workers struck something hard and unusual deep underground. At first, it was just a surprising find, but as more earth was removed, an astonishing sight silenced the entire site. A perfectly preserved ancient tomb slowly emerged, and it was unlike anything discovered before. Word quickly reached local archaeologists, and a research team was immediately dispatched to the scene. After days of careful excavation, they revealed the final resting place of an extraordinary individual, Li Jingshun, a 9-year-old girl of royal blood, the granddaughter of Empress Yang Lihua. one of the most powerful figures of China's northern Zhou and Sui dynasties, which reigned from 581 to 619 AD. Despite her young age, Li Jingshun was buried with stunning grandeur, befitting her noble lineage, something that deeply surprised the archaeologists. Her coffin was crafted from rare hardwood, lacquered in a glossy black finish, and intricately carved with designs symbolizing imperial status. But what chilled everyone was the short inscription carved into the lid of the coffin, just 4 characters that read, "Whoever opens it will die." This wasn't part of some legend or horror novel. It was a real hand-carved warning etched into an authentic royal coffin, direct, cold, and deeply unsettling. Can you imagine it? Standing before an artifact over 400 years old, staring at a death curse written across its surface, would you dare to open it? Yet, the archaeologists did. Despite the ominous message, they proceeded to open the coffin, not out of recklessness, but because of the immense historical and cultural value it might contain. What they found inside far exceeded expectations. The body of Li Jingshun was astonishingly well preserved, and alongside her were more than 200 burial artifacts, each a valuable treasure in both artistic and archaeological terms. Among the items were jewelry made from pearls, oval-shaped glassware with exotic influences, hinting at vibrant trade and cultural exchange, intricately hand-carved royal artifacts, some possibly used within the imperial court. Remarkably, there was no sign of tomb robbing, a rarity in Chinese archaeology, where grave looting has plagued discoveries for centuries. This led the researchers to pose an intriguing hypothesis. Could the "whoever opens it will die" warning have actually protected the tomb, scaring off grave robbers for over a millennium? Empress Yang Lihua, moved by love and grief for her young granddaughter, had not only arranged a grand funeral, but also ensured that Li Jingshun would continue living in luxury in the afterlife. The inclusion of hundreds of valuable items reflected not only the girl's royal rank, but also the empress's deep affection, a profoundly human gesture hidden behind the eerie presence of the ancient curse. One aspect that made this discovery so unique was that it wasn't just historically significant. It also offered new insight into spiritual beliefs and early psychological methods used to protect the dead. The coffin's inscription may not have been a literal magical curse, but a form of psychological deterrence, a social warning designed to instill fear in would-be grave robbers. Ancient people believed that those who disturbed the peace of the dead could be haunted, cursed, or face misfortune from the afterlife. Perhaps that belief became a kind of invisible shield, preserving Li Jingshun's tomb untouched to this day. The combination of exquisite tomb architecture, priceless artifacts, and a chilling warning carved into the coffin has made this modest grave one of the most fascinating and controversial archaeological discoveries in recent years. What do you think about the phrase, "whoever opens it will die"? Is it mere superstition, or a testament to the spiritual intelligence of ancient people? And if you were one of the archaeologists on that day, would you have dared to open the coffin? As for me, absolutely not. I'd be way too scared. $1 million ancient treasure discovered beneath a theater. In 2018, archaeologists uncovered a valuable ancient treasure estimated to be worth $1 million at an ancient theater site in northern Italy. The treasure consists of coins dating back to the late Roman Empire, hidden inside a stone jar and buried beneath the basement of the Cressoni Theater in Como, near Milan. Although the full historical and cultural significance of this discovery remains unclear, experts expressed great enthusiasm and pride over the find, considering it a true treasure for the field of archaeology. According to information from Italy's Ministry of Cultural Heritage and Activities, once the jar of coins was found, it was immediately transferred to the Mibach Restoration Office in Milan for further study and conservation. While no official statement has yet been made regarding the precise value of the treasure, local reports suggest it could be worth several $million. Authorities also noted that this area is becoming an archaeological hotspot. The Cressoni Theater, built in 1807, served as a cultural venue before being converted into a movie theater and eventually closing in 1997. Notably, the site where the treasure was found is not far from Novum Comum, a location where many important Roman artifacts have also been discovered. This find is considered one of the most significant recent discoveries of Roman coins. Previously, in 2016, archaeologists excavated a rare Roman gold coin in Jerusalem, dating back over 2,000 years and bearing the image of Emperor Nero. That same year, experts in Okinawa, Japan, found 10 ancient Roman and Ottoman coins at a shrine site. These discoveries highlight the critical role ancient sites play in deepening our understanding of the history and culture of ancient civilizations. 5,000-year-old tomb. Unearthed shocking secrets of ancient rituals revealed. The coffin of the daughter, most loved by Qin Shi Huang. As the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang achieved countless great accomplishments that have been celebrated by generations. However, historical records rarely mention his children. In fact, almost everyone only remembers his two sons, Ying Huhui and Ying Fusu, even though research shows that Qin Shi Huang had more than 33 children. According to Chinese media, in 1976, archaeologists discovered a complex of tombs near Shangqiao Village, Shandong Province, China. The site contained a total of 17 ancient tombs, including one that held only a bronze sword with no human bones inside. The other coffins were scattered, with skulls and limb bones displaced and disorganized. These tombs resembled those of common people rather than royalty. However, based on some artifacts found at the site, archaeologists concluded that this tomb complex very likely belonged to Qin Shi Huang's daughters, who were murdered by Huhui. Further excavations uncovered two personal seals, one inscribed with the characters Ronglu, possibly belonging to one of Qin Shi Huang's sons, and the other bearing the name Yangxi, believed to be Duan Dongman, a daughter of Qin Shi Huang. Historically, Qin Shi Huang died from illness while touring the empire. The throne was originally passed to Crown Prince Fusu, but second Prince Huhui conspired with Zhao Gao, Li Si, and others to alter the emperor's will. Ultimately, Huhui took the throne and, to eliminate rivals, killed all those who opposed him. He buried many concubines alive, publicly executed 18 of Qin Shi Huang's sons, and forced 4 others to commit suicide. Even the princesses were not spared. 10 of them died during this rebellion, including Princess Duan Dongman. In total, over 30 of Qin Shi Huang's children died at the hands of Huhui. There are few records about Duan Dongman, but she is said to have been the emperor's most beloved daughter, not only for her outstanding appearance, but also for her harmonious personality with her siblings. Still, she could not escape a tragic death. When archaeologists found the tomb believed to be Duan Dongman's, they discovered her skeleton inside the coffin was far from intact. It showed many stab wounds, and there was even an arrowhead lodged directly into her skull. This scene shocked many historians and evoked deep sorrow. This truly reveals how terrifying ancient China could be. Simply for the sake of power, people were willing to do anything, even kill their closest blood relatives. The giant skull in Romania. In the 1940s, archaeologists were overseeing an excavation in the town of Argeș, Romania, searching for priceless artifacts amid the ruins of what was once the greatest fortress of the Dacian king, Burebista. Local villagers were the main labor force for the dig, excited to earn a little extra during the difficult times. Among them was a man named Ionita Florea, now an elderly man over 80 years old. He was the one who uncovered a giant skull, 2 to 3 times larger than a normal skull. When he reported this to the archaeologists, the workers were immediately dismissed, and the researchers took over the excavation. The artifacts discovered were loaded onto trucks and transported away under an atmosphere so mysterious it was absolute. By the end of the excavation, they had collected a total of 80 skeletons, most of them nearly complete. They also uncovered a huge ceramic jar filled with rice. To this day, no one knows where those skeletons are now. And this is not an isolated case. In recent years, villagers in Skyeni discovered an ancient giant burial site while planting an apple orchard. Once again, the enormous size of the skulls astonished everyone. Alongside complete skeletons, villagers found pottery shards, jewelry, and strange metal statues about 3 feet tall. Shortly after, a team of archaeologists arrived, excavated everything, and then vanished without a trace. No official statement was ever released, and the locals refused to discuss what happened after revealing their findings. Were they forced into silence? Could this event be part of a larger conspiracy? There are many more legends about giants in this area. According to local folklore, a race of giants once lived in the hills and forests surrounding Skyeni. In fact, enormous thrones carved into the mountainside were found in places unreachable by ordinary people. In 2009, a local TV station launched an investigation into the giants and mysterious tunnels beneath Buseji Mountain. Just as the report was about to air, they received a call from an unidentified man who threatened the journalists to immediately stop their investigation. According to this man, they were playing a dangerous game. Was this a staged hoax or an attempt to cover up secret information through intimidation? Only the journalists know, but they refuse to talk about it. Interestingly, the airspace above the Buseji Plateau is a no-fly zone. Many sources point to the CIA as being possibly involved in this matter. Events like these happen all over the world. Yet, whenever someone reports finding giant skeletons, clear evidence always seems to be missing. Authorities usually arrive soon after, hastily covering up the excavation sites, leaving no artifacts behind, and the locals stay silent. People might think something strange is definitely going on here. So, what about you? What do you think this is? 5,000-year-old ancient tomb reveals shocking identity of its owner. Beneath layers of dusty time and the silent earth of the ancient town of Aspero, part of the once glorious Corral civilization in Peru, archaeologists accidentally uncovered a roughly 5,000-year-old tomb containing the remains of a mysterious woman believed to have held a high social status. What makes this tomb remarkable isn't just its ancient age, but the miraculous preservation of the body and the abundance of exquisite burial goods, details that have left experts amazed and excited. While most skeletons found in this area are typically reduced to bare bones, this woman's body was astonishingly well preserved. Her skin, hair, and even fingernails remained intact after millennia, a rare occurrence in prehistoric archaeology. She was wrapped in multiple layers of materials, including cotton fabric, plant fiber bindings, mats, and even nets, indicating a complex and respectful burial ritual. This also provides the first clear sign that she was no ordinary person. Based on the condition of the body and the artifacts in the tomb, experts estimate she lived between 3000 and 1800 BCE and died at around 20 to 35 years old. Most importantly, the items buried with her, valuable evidence revealing aspects of her life and status, stood out. Among these was a piece of embroidered fabric made from the feathers of a long-tailed parrot, a bird native only to the remote Amazon rainforest, suggesting trade connections or broad cultural influence. Additionally, the tomb contained a toucan beak inlaid with green and brown beads, an Amazon snail shell, about 30 sweet potatoes, and a fishing net, all symbolically and practically significant, reflecting the life, beliefs, and wealth of the deceased. The presence of objects from distant regions, combined with signs of meticulous burial preparation, convinced researchers that this woman belonged to the upper class, possibly a leader or an important figure in her community. Although her exact identity or title remains unknown, since the Corral civilization left no written records, the refinement and value of her burial goods speak volumes. She was a powerful woman with deep influence in ancient society. The town of Aspero, where the tomb was found, was a crucial part of the Corral civilization, regarded as one of the oldest in the Americas. Archaeologists have uncovered at least 22 large and small architectural sites here, demonstrating advanced urban planning. The local population mainly lived by fishing, exploiting marine resources, and trading goods, consistent with the fishing net and food items found in the tomb. This further supports the hypothesis that the woman played a key role in her community, possibly managing trade or overseeing spiritual rituals, both vital roles in early societies. This discovery not only helps researchers better understand the role of women in the ancient Corral civilization, one that existed alongside other great civilizations worldwide, but also opens a new window into exploring a glorious past buried beneath thousands of years of history. In the darkness of millennia, the body of the Aspero woman still whispers untold stories of power, dignity, and life in a world we are only just beginning to understand. The remains of the oldest known woman on Earth. Deep underground in South Africa, at a site called Malapa Cave, archaeologists have just added a completely new chapter to the history of human evolution. There, they discovered an almost complete skeleton dated to about 3.6 million years ago, believed to be the remains of the oldest woman ever found on the planet. The skeleton belongs to an individual of Australopithecus sediba, a species of early hominins that existed during the early stages of evolution from ape to human. What makes this discovery extraordinarily rare is the preservation of a patch of fossilized skin, a feature never before found on any prehistoric human skeleton. Even this small piece of skin opens up a unique opportunity to analyze the DNA of our most ancient known ancestor. This biological data could help scientists decode not only physical characteristics, but also the living environment, climate conditions, and evolutionary pathways of humans millions of years ago. According to the research team, the skeleton belonged to a young woman around 18 to 22 years old, who died after falling from a cliff into the Malapa cave system. The sealed, stable humidity and mineral-rich environment of the cave accidentally preserved her body in a near-perfect state for millions of years. Notably, the finger bones of this individual have shapes and proportions very similar to modern humans, indicating that tool use may have begun much earlier than previously thought. The pelvis, spine, and feet also reveal that Australopithecus sediba likely walked upright but still retained agile climbing abilities, reflecting the transition from tree-dwelling creatures to ground-based inhabitants. Malapa Cave, located in the region known as the Cradle of Humankind, has long been recognized as a treasure trove of valuable fossils. However, this find is more than archaeological. It's a moment that reaches to the very roots of the question, who are we? And where did we come from? You see, even after millions of years, the remains of this young woman still whisper gently from the past. No tombstone, no name, but what she left behind. Fragile skin, slender bones, maybe the missing piece modern science needs to understand itself. She surely never knew she would change the world. But now, thanks to her, we are one step closer to the truth about human origins. Over 400-year-old cannons, discovered off the coast of Ireland. In recent months, a remarkable archaeological discovery has shaken the historical and marine research communities. A series of cannons, along with numerous valuable artifacts, were uncovered on the seabed off northwest Ireland. This followed the exposure of the Spanish shipwreck La Juliana, revealed after severe storms over the past 2 years. This discovery not only brings fascinating stories from the past to light, but also clarifies historical mysteries from a turbulent era, the Spanish Armada's invasion attempt in 1588. La Juliana, known as one of the larger ships in the Armada fleet, was lost after being struck by fierce waves and storms. Previously, it had transported goods between Spain and Italy until King Philip II of Spain requisitioned the vessel for the invasion aimed at overthrowing Queen Elizabeth I. Weighing 900,000 pounds, La Juliana could carry up to 32 cannons and more than 300 soldiers, alongside a crew of 70 sailors. The cannons found on the ocean floor have remained remarkably intact for over 400 years, as if time itself could not erase their mark. Especially notable is one cannon recently brought ashore, engraved with the image of Saint Matrona, the protector saint of Catalonia and Barcelona, and dated 1570, the same year La Juliana was built. Archaeologists report that despite being buried underwater for centuries, the cannons are still in excellent condition, thanks in part to the protective seabed environment. This also reflects the advanced weapons manufacturing techniques of the 16th century, as these artifacts have demonstrated surprising durability. This find is not only an archaeological treasure, but also a vivid testament to Spain's failed invasion of England. After the historic Battle of Gravelines, the Spanish fleet was defeated and faced devastating storms off the coast of Ireland, sinking many warships including La Juliana. The waters off Ireland became a graveyard for the fleet, where about 1/3 of the Armada's 63 ships were lost. Heather Humphreys, Ireland's Minister for Arts, Heritage and the Gaeltacht, expressed deep emotion upon visiting the site, saying, "We have uncovered a magnificent and immensely important treasure, over 425 years old. These artifacts are clearly of great historical and archaeological significance." Salvage operations are expected to last several weeks, with security forces deployed to protect the area and prevent treasure hunters from intruding. La Juliana is just one of 3 Armada ships lost in the violent storms of 1588. The other 2, La Lavia and Santa Maria de Vison, also sank, taking more than 1,000 soldiers and sailors with them. Historians believe these vessels remain protected beneath layers of seabed sand, waiting to be explored by archaeologists. A 4,000-year-old skeleton, found in a strange burial position. In the peaceful countryside of Brandenburg, Germany, where sun-drenched fields are soon to make way for modern wind turbines, a strange discovery has shaken the archaeology community. During a pre-construction survey excavation, two archaeologists, Philip Roskoshinsky and Krzysztof Rizagata, from the consulting firm Archaeological, accidentally uncovered a set of human remains that to this day, no one has been able to fully explain. This is no ordinary skeleton. What makes it special, indeed startling, is the burial position. According to Dr. Christoph Krauskopf from the Brandenburg State Heritage and Museum Authority, the woman in this grave was buried in a squatting position, leaning on her right side, with her head facing east. This posture is not only unusual, but so rare it almost breaks every known norm of ancient burial rituals. The question arises, why was she buried like this? Could this be a special funeral rite never before recorded? Or is it a sign of some lost ancient religious belief? The biggest challenge for archaeologists is that the grave contained no accompanying artifacts, no bracelets, no tools, no material traces that could help accurately date the woman's time period. However, based on the soil layer, excavation site, and some anatomical features, experts estimate that these remains are over 4,000 years old, dating back to the Neolithic period, around 2500 to 2200 BC. Still, what was found raises more questions than answers. A woman, unknown identity, buried without any personal belongings, laid to rest in such a peculiar position. What happened to her? Was she a special figure, an outcast from her community, or part of an ancient sacrificial ritual? With so little data, the expert team is planning a series of in-depth studies. These include carbon dating to precisely determine when she died. DNA tests could reveal her family relations, health condition, or even diseases she might have had. Particularly important is strontium isotope analysis of her teeth, which can reveal where she lived during her early years, a crucial clue to reconstructing the life journey of someone who lived thousands of years ago. All these studies might not only clarify the woman's identity, but also provide important evidence about prehistoric cultural, social, and religious life in Central Europe. The 1,600-year-old burial of a warrior maiden. Have you ever believed that deep within the wild, cold steppes of Central Asia, where time seems to stand still, there remain mysteries that could change the way we see history? A discovery in 1988 in the Republic of Tuva, a small country nestled between Russia and Mongolia, did just that. What at first seemed to be an ancient grave with a partially mummified skeleton, thought to belong to a young boy, actually held an epic story that had gone untold for thousands of years. And only recently has this secret truly begun to unfold. Scientists from the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology in Russia conducted genetic analysis on the mummy. The results stunned the scientific community. This was not a boy, but a young girl, only about 12 to 13 years old. A maiden, but not an ordinary girl, a Scythian warrior, embodying the legendary female heroes of epic tales and mythology. This young girl was not buried in silken dresses, but wearing a leather cap and a fur coat made from the pelts of a local rodent called a jerboa, typical of the steppe region. Most remarkably, she was buried with a full set of weapons: a birchwood bow, 10 wooden arrows, and a long-handled axe, items not meant for an ordinary person, but for a true warrior. These details perfectly match the ancient records of Hippocrates, the famous Greek physician. In texts written between 460 and 370 BC, he described a group of female Scythian warriors, strong, ruthless, and equal to any man in battle. They were rigorously trained from childhood and had to remain virgins until killing at least 3 enemies. Only after completing this sacred rite of combat were they allowed to marry. It was not just a duty, but a warrior's pride. Many historians still debate whether these legendary female warriors from Greek mythology were real. But the discovery in the Republic of Tuva may be the strongest living proof that they did exist, not just as myths, but as real people with flesh and bone, ideals, and deadly battles. Although the exact cause of this young girl's death remains unclear, archaeologists believe from her burial, with full warrior gear and attire, that she fell in battle, and thus she was honored in death like an ancient warrior, respected and remembered by her people. What makes this discovery especially remarkable is not just the mummy's age or the grave's nature, but the story buried through time. A girl barely in her teens, yet bearing the heavy burden of warriorhood, honor, ideals, and the harsh social expectations of her era. She was neither a princess in a castle nor a muse at a window. She was a true warrior who wrote her silent history with her very life. Today, as the world re-examines the role of women in history, findings like this are more than archaeological. They are voices from the past saying, women have always been central to the human story, even if history once forgot them. And who knows, beneath yet unexcavated graves across the vast, windswept steppes, there may still be warriors like this Tuva girl, quietly waiting for their stories to be told. Have you ever thought that history might change from a single drop of blood analyzed after thousands of years? I certainly believe it can. 7 shocking archaeological discoveries that reveal the dark secrets of human history. 7 blood-red skeletons, found in an ancient Chinese tomb. In 2016, a remarkable excavation at the Jinsha Archaeological Site in Qingyang District, Chengdu, Sichuan Province, sent shockwaves through the archaeological community when 7 ancient tombs were discovered, each containing skeletons as red as blood. Jinsha is one of the most significant archaeological sites in 21st century China and is considered a cultural cradle in the upper reaches of the Yangtze River, dating from the 12th to the 7th century BCE. According to experts, the 7 tombs date back to the Warring States period and vary in shape and size. Inside the tombs, in addition to coffins containing the blood-red skeletons, archaeologists also found various burial items such as swords, spears, and bronze artifacts. However, it was the discovery of the red-colored skeletons that drew the most attention. A series of tests and analyses were conducted to determine why these over 2,500-year-old human remains had such an unusual color. The results revealed that the skeletons were coated in cinnabar, a mineral that has been used for thousands of years. Interestingly, not only the bodies but also the surrounding soil inside the coffins had been affected, giving the area its distinctive red hue. This discovery not only astonished archaeologists but also offered new insights into ancient burial practices. Experts believe that cinnabar was not used merely for decoration but carried profound spiritual significance. It is thought that ancient people applied cinnabar to the deceased with the belief that it would aid in rebirth after death. With its blood-like color, cinnabar symbolized life and the hope of resurrection in the afterlife. These findings shed new light not only on ancient burial customs, but also on the thoughts and beliefs of our ancestors. After lying undisturbed underground for more than 2,500 years, these vivid red skeletons now tell powerful stories of a glorious era, of deep spiritual beliefs, and of humanity's timeless contemplation of life, death, and what lies beyond. The giant egg by the river in Argentina. One morning, Mateo Suarez, a farmer from Carlos Spagazzini, Argentina, was walking along the riverbank when he stumbled upon a strange object. It looked like a massive black egg. Its surface was scaly, and when tapped, it felt as hard as stone. Its enormous size and unusual texture fascinated Mateo, but also made him feel a little uneasy. As he ran his hand over the shell, he couldn't help but wonder, what could be hidden inside? Curious, Mateo brought the giant egg home and shared his discovery with his wife, Lucia. She too was intrigued. The couple figured that if it really was an eggshell, the creature inside must have been enormous. So they decided to invite their neighbors over to inspect the mysterious object. At first, everyone thought Mateo was joking, but after seeing it with their own eyes, they urged him to report the finding to the authorities. News of Mateo's strange egg spread quickly through the village. Some believed it was a dinosaur egg. Others thought it might contain a long-lost treasure. A few days later, a wealthy collector named Esteban Morales caught wind of the discovery. Esteban was passionate about rare artifacts. He traveled to Mateo's house and made an enticing offer. He would buy the giant egg for a large sum of money. If it turned out to contain the remains of a rare creature like an ankylosaurus, Mateo would receive an additional bonus. Even though Mateo and his wife were barely making ends meet, and Esteban's offer could have drastically improved their lives, Mateo declined to sell the egg. Instead, he chose to report the find to local authorities. Soon after, a team of archaeologists arrived to investigate. They confirmed that what Matteo had found wasn't a dinosaur egg, but the fossilized shell of a glyptodont, an ancient armored mammal from the Glyptodontidae family. The shell had been buried under layers of mud and soil for centuries, remaining hidden until heavy rains washed away the dirt and exposed it. Glyptodonts are relatives of modern armadillos and lived during the Pleistocene epoch. Their size and weight could rival that of a Volkswagen Beetle. Like today's armored animals, a glyptodont's body was protected by a tough outer shell made of around 1,000 interlocking bony plates, each about 1 inch thick and weighing nearly 900 pounds, roughly 1/5 of its total body weight. The plates were hexagonal in shape and fitted together like puzzle pieces, forming an unbreakable armor. They also had a long pointed tail, which acted as a club for defense against predators. The largest glyptodonts could weigh up to 4,400 pounds. These creatures, considered ancestors of modern armadillos, evolved in South America roughly 20 million years ago. They were slow-moving herbivores that lived near rivers, feeding mainly on the surrounding vegetation. As a native species of South America, glyptodonts faced various environmental pressures. But around 10,000 years ago, the arrival of humans marked a turning point. Humans hunted glyptodonts for meat and used their massive shells as shields or building materials. Eventually, relentless hunting led to their extinction about 4,000 years ago. Experts believe that the shell Matteo discovered is relatively young by fossil standards, estimated to be about 10,000 years old. Because of its condition and age, this discovery could be a crucial piece of evidence, offering researchers valuable insights into the timeline and environment of this mysterious species. The ancient tomb, containing a vampire and mysterious liquid in Poland. In 2013, an excavation in Gliwice, Poland, uncovered an ancient cemetery that revealed chilling secrets about burial practices from long ago. Construction workers accidentally discovered several graves in which the bodies were buried in a highly unusual position. Instead of lying flat in a typical posture, the skulls were placed between the knees, a burial method unlike any traditional rite known to archaeologists. Radiocarbon dating indicated that the individuals died sometime between the 15th and 16th centuries, an era in Europe when fear of supernatural beings, particularly vampires, was widespread. Archaeologist Jacek Pierzak, who participated in the excavation, stated, "This method of burial was not a mistake. It was an intentional measure to prevent the dead from rising and returning as vampires to harm the living. These graves likely belonged to individuals suspected of being vampires, bloodthirsty monsters that terrified the people of medieval Poland. To ensure they wouldn't rise again, the bodies were beheaded and buried in a deliberately gruesome way." In another gripping discovery in 2018, archaeologists in Alexandria, Egypt, found a massive black granite sarcophagus inside an ancient tomb. Rumors of a deadly curse quickly spread, with some fearing that opening the coffin might unleash catastrophic consequences. Despite public concern, archaeologists proceeded to open it, and inside they found 3 skeletons submerged in a mysterious red liquid. Testing confirmed the remains dated to sometime after 332 BCE, but the strange fluid sparked immense curiosity. On Change.org, more than 1,500 people signed a petition asking to drink the red liquid, believing it might contain power drawn from the dead. However, experts strongly warned against this, stating that not only would it not provide any supernatural strength, but drinking it could expose people to dangerous bacteria, viruses, or other infectious diseases. Adding to this list of striking discoveries, archaeologists also unearthed the tomb of King Shothas III, ruler of the Odrysian kingdom in Thrace during the 4th century BCE. His tomb was constructed beneath an earthen mound, roughly 65 feet high and 295 feet in diameter. Inside, researchers found lavish burial items, including a gold crown, golden cups, weapons, shields, and a bronze sculpture depicting the king himself. This find highlights the wealth and authority of ancient monarchs and provides further insight into Thracian civilization. These archaeological discoveries do more than just shed light on past customs and beliefs. They challenge us to reflect on the mysteries still buried beneath our feet. Each excavation uncovers stories that are both strange and captivating, transporting us to a time when life and death were deeply intertwined with terrifying legends and unshakable faith. The coffin that released a fragrant scent, a discovery that left experts stunned. At a construction site in Nangshan County, Anhui Province, China, an excavator operator accidentally unearthed an unusually large ancient tomb buried about 13 feet underground. The site manager immediately halted construction and reported the find to local authorities. Shortly after, an archaeological team was dispatched to the scene, sealing off the area and beginning the excavation of the mysterious tomb. Beneath the soil, the experts discovered two coffins, referred to as Coffin Number 1 and Coffin Number 2. The first, a simple wooden coffin, contained few burial items, and the body inside had long since decayed. But it was Coffin Number 2 that drew the most attention. This coffin was sealed in a 12-inch thick layer of dense yellow clay, making it extremely difficult to open. It featured a double-layered outer casing, the outermost layer being a cypress wood coffin painted bronze, protected against termites, and separated from the inner coffin by a 16-inch layer of lime. Inside was a deep red coffin made from Nanmu wood, a rare and prized tree native to China. The coffin measured 7.9 feet long, 27.5 inches wide, and 29.5 inches high. To the archaeologists' amazement, a distinct fragrant aroma wafted through the air the moment the lid was opened. Even more astonishing, they discovered a well-preserved female corpse dressed in Qing dynasty garments, appearing almost freshly buried. Her black hair was neatly tied behind her head, her muscles still full and flexible, and even her joints could still move. A fully intact body in such remarkable condition is extremely rare in Chinese archaeological history. According to data from Kalishi, the mummy was 5 feet 4.5 inches tall and weighed 97 pounds. She had a slender build, an oval-shaped face, and traditional 3-inch golden lotus-bound feet. Her fingernails and toenails were painted red. Experts estimated she was around 30 years old at the time of burial and was likely an extraordinarily beautiful woman of the Qing era. However, upon closer inspection, researchers found a deep T-shaped cut on her neck, likely made by a sword. It was the only visible wound on the body, and given the lack of resistance marks, it appeared she did not fight back. Archaeologists theorize that she may have committed a serious crime and was executed. The wound was identified as the cause of death and could serve as an important clue in uncovering her true identity. The tomb was filled with luxurious burial items, including gold and silver jewelry, gemstone prayer beads, and coins from the reign of Emperor Kangxi. However, no inscription or tombstone was found, making it extremely difficult to identify who this woman was. To this day, her identity remains an unsolved mystery, leaving behind a haunting yet fascinating story from the Qing dynasty that continues to puzzle researchers and historians alike. Treasure trove of gold jewelry found in ancient tomb in Bulgaria. On August 24, 2024, Ancient Origins reported that a team of archaeologists had uncovered a treasure trove of ancient artifacts in the tomb of a Thracian warrior in the village of Kapitan Petko Voivoda, near Topolovgrad, Bulgaria. The treasure includes a gold necklace, a shimmering gold crown, a gold ring, and even a gold and gemstone inlaid dagger, all buried alongside the remains of a warrior from the early 1st century AD during the Roman era. The Topolovgrad local government shared this exciting discovery on their official Facebook page, noting that the excavation was conducted by the same team that had worked at the site the previous year. The archaeologists also unearthed numerous weapons and a chest plate, suggesting that this individual was far from an ordinary soldier. Evidence points to him being a cavalryman from a wealthy and influential family. Most strikingly, the presence of a horse buried next to the warrior's remains adds even more depth to this extraordinary story. The Thracian warriors were among the most formidable and distinctive military forces of the ancient world, known for their unique weapons, battle tactics, and their significant contributions to the military history of the Balkans and surrounding regions. The Thracians inhabited areas that today include Bulgaria, Romania, northern Greece, and parts of Turkey. Their warrior culture left a lasting impact on neighboring civilizations like Greece, Persia, and Rome, highlighting their importance in ancient military dynamics. The current excavation is led by Daniela Agre of the National Institute of Archaeology with museum at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. Impressively, the treasure was found on just the second day of digging. Among the standout finds is a hunting dagger featuring a handle inlaid with gemstones and carved with the figure of a hunting dog. Experts say that some of the artifacts are unlike anything previously discovered in Bulgaria. Once the excavation is complete, the artifacts will be transferred to and preserved at the History Museum in Topolovgrad. If you ever have the chance to visit, it's well worth a trip to admire this priceless treasure in person. The 1,000-year-old alien-like skulls discovered in Mexico. Recently, archaeologists announced the discovery of numerous human skulls with bizarre, alien-like shapes at a 1,000-year-old cemetery in Mexico. The burial site was first uncovered in 1999 by local residents of the village of Onivas while they were constructing an irrigation canal. It marked the first pre-Hispanic cemetery ever discovered in the state of Sonora, in northern Mexico. The area, now known as El Cementerio, contains a total of 25 burial sites, with 13 of them displaying highly unusual skull features. These skulls are elongated and tapered to a point at the back, shapes that differ significantly from modern human skulls. Some skulls also exhibit filed-down teeth, forming strange and deliberate patterns. The practice of cranial deformation in children as they grew was relatively common in ancient Central America, and these findings suggest that such traditions had spread farther north than previously believed. The loss or modification of teeth was likely tied to ritualistic behaviors such as grinding them into symbolic shapes, while the skull deformation involved physically altering a child's developing skull by applying pressure, often by binding wooden boards with cloth to both sides of the head. Skull deformation has been observed in various cultures around the world and is believed to have served religious purposes or to signify social status or group identity. However, the exact reason why the people of El Cementerio practiced cranial deformation remains a mystery. One particularly striking aspect of this discovery is that 17 of the 25 burials were children, ranging from 5 months to 16 years old. The high number of child remains has led experts to believe that the cranial deformation may have directly contributed to their deaths, as no signs of disease or illness were found. The excessive pressure applied to their skulls may have proven fatal in many cases. Interestingly, while cranial deformation and tooth modification were common in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican communities, including those in Mexico and Central America, archaeologists had not previously discovered such practices in Sonora or the American Southwest, regions that shared similar cultural periods. This has led researchers to propose a bold hypothesis that the El Cementerio community may have been influenced by southern migrants bringing these customs with them. Further adding to the mystery, several skeletons were found buried with distinctive ornaments, such as earrings, necklaces, and bracelets made from seashells and snails sourced from the Gulf of California. One skeleton even had a turtle shell placed over the chest, possibly as part of a ritual burial ceremony. However, not all the bodies were buried with such items, raising questions about social hierarchy or ritual selection, why some individuals were adorned while others were not. Another curious point, out of all 25 skeletons, only one belonged to a female. This imbalance has led to speculation about the role of women in this society, why they were so underrepresented in this cemetery. So far, there is no definitive answer. Despite the many unanswered questions, archaeologists hope to continue excavations at the site in future research phases. They aim to uncover more sections of the cemetery and better understand the connections between the El Cementerio inhabitants and ancient Mesoamerican cultures. With further study, we may gain deeper insight into the burial customs and societal structures of a people who lived in this region over 1,000 years ago. 1,000-year-old tomb containing mysterious liquid sends experts fleeing. Recently, while quarrying on a mountain in Tungliao City, located in the eastern part of the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, China, workers unexpectedly struck a stone wall. At first, they assumed it was just a large bedrock and paid little attention. However, as they dug deeper, they noticed the stones were laid out in a very regular pattern with visible carvings, indicating possible human involvement. Recognizing signs of a burial site, the workers immediately reported the find to the Inner Mongolia Archaeological Institute. Upon investigation, archaeologists confirmed that the workers had uncovered the entrance to an ancient tomb over 1,000 years old. dating back to the Liao dynasty. This was not a simple tomb, but a full stone mausoleum complete with corridors, burial chambers, and side compartments, measuring about 53.8 feet in total length. Based on the elaborate design, archaeologists concluded that this had to be a royal tomb. The excavation team was astonished to discover a staircase carved into the steep rock face of Tuerjishan Mountain, leading down to a spacious burial chamber. Inside the tomb, along with a coffin, they found over 200 burial artifacts, all remarkably well preserved, including crystal cups, silver-plated saddles, gold rings, gold bells, and crystal-handled daggers. Among all these, the most fascinating artifact to the archaeologists was a deep red lacquered coffin made of Chinese cypress wood, beautifully carved with phoenix motifs and impeccably preserved. The coffin base, also wooden, was once painted in vibrant colors, though much of the paint had faded over time due to prolonged exposure to damp silt. Opening the extremely heavy coffin required a combined effort from the team. As the lid was lifted, two bodies wearing strange golden masks gradually came into view. The corpses were relatively intact and wrapped in multiple layers of silk robes. To preserve the dignity of the deceased, the golden masks were not removed immediately. Instead, the experts decided to use the latest imaging technology to scan the bodies and gather more information about the tomb's occupants. But just as they were preparing to transport the remains to a research facility, something alarming happened. A strange milky white liquid began seeping from a crack in the coffin, and the flow quickly increased. The moment they saw this, the experts shouted warnings and evacuated everyone from the tomb. Their quick reaction was crucial. The experts were aware that the Khitan people, who inhabited this region, had a burial custom of pouring mercury over the dead to preserve their bodies. And as you may know, mercury is highly toxic. The large amount of mercury inside the coffin explained why the two 1,000-year-old corpses had not decayed. However, inhaling mercury vapor in high concentrations can cause poisoning, seizures, or even immediate death. That's why the team had to quickly evacuate the site. Eventually, the bodies were carefully transported to a museum for cleaning and DNA testing. The results of the DNA analysis shocked the academic community. Using inscriptions found on a stele, historical texts from the history of Liao, and scientific testing, archaeologists confirmed that this was the tomb of Princess Chen Guo of the Liao dynasty, a Khitan royal and sister of Emperor Taizu of Liao. The princess died at the young age of 18 and was buried alongside her husband, who was also her uncle. For context, this was due to royal inbreeding customs of the time, which required princesses to marry close male relatives. Historical records do not specify the exact cause of death, only stating that the princess and her consort died from illness. The history of Liao also notes that Princess Chen Guo was known for her many virtues and was deeply loved by both the emperor and the people, which earned her an elaborate royal burial. Both the princess and her consort were buried wearing finely crafted golden masks that preserved the likeness of their facial features. Among the Khitan people, it was a unique custom to place golden masks on the deceased, believed to help preserve the dignified expressions of their faces even after decomposition. At this point, it's safe to say that the golden masks and burial artifacts found in Princess Chen Guo's tomb are among the most complete and well-preserved relics ever recovered from the Liao dynasty. These discoveries are now considered historical treasures, helping to fill in significant gaps in our understanding of a once powerful but long-forgotten empire. 6 most terrifying shipwrecks in history that shocked the world. The Indian Titanic shipwreck and the $43 million treasure, decoded after 80 years. After lying deep beneath the Indian Ocean for more than 80 years, a tragic and disputed chapter of World War II history has finally come to a close. On May 8th, the United Kingdom Supreme Court issued a historic ruling. The wreck of the SS Talawa and its $43 million treasure officially belonged to the Republic of South Africa. But behind that ruling is the gripping story of a ship once dubbed the Indian Titanic, marked by deadly attacks, miraculous survival, and a decades-long legal battle. The story begins on November 23, 1942, as the world was engulfed in the flames of World War II. The SS Talawa, a passenger and cargo ship, departed from the port of Bombay, now Mumbai, India, headed for Durban, South Africa. On board were 222 crew members, 732 passengers, 4 gunners, and approximately 6,600 US tons of cargo. The most notable among the cargo, over 2,000 pure silver ingots, transported on behalf of the British government to mint coins for South Africa's economy. However, the Talawa never reached its destination. While navigating near the Seychelles Islands, the ship was suddenly struck by two torpedoes launched exactly 1 hour apart by the Japanese submarine I-29. The attack sent the vessel plunging to the bottom of the ocean, claiming 280 lives and the entire silver cargo. The survivors drifted at sea for 2 harrowing days and nights before being rescued by the British warship HMS Birmingham, one of the few emergency sea rescues during wartime. The event earned the Talawa the nickname the Indian Titanic, not only for the scale of the disaster, but also for the story of a once elegant vessel brought down in tragic and unexpected fashion. Yet what has kept the Talawa in the spotlight for archaeologists and treasure hunters for decades is not just the tragedy, but the massive treasure lying on the seafloor. In 2012, British racecar driver Ross Hyatt founded Argentum Exploration Limited with a bold goal: to locate wartime shipwrecks that carried valuable assets. Partnering with Advanced Maritime Services (AMS), the team identified the Talawa's location in 2014 after 2 years of research and deep-sea mapping. They launched a recovery mission using the Seabed Worker, a Norwegian salvage vessel specialized in deep-sea operations. At a depth of 11,500 feet, the team successfully recovered 2,364 silver bars, a remarkable feat of deep-sea diving and artifact retrieval. But ironically, the battle beneath the waves paled in comparison to the legal war on land. After bringing the treasure back to the UK, Argentum claimed ownership, arguing that they had discovered and salvaged the wreck. However, the Republic of South Africa immediately objected, asserting that the silver belonged to them, property of their nation, originally dispatched by the British government during wartime for public use. What followed was a fierce and years-long legal showdown that drew attention from academics, lawyers, and even international politicians. In the end, the UK Supreme Court overturned all prior rulings, declaring South Africa the rightful owner of both the shipwreck and its valuable cargo, on the grounds that the treasure was state property meant for non-commercial use. From a wartime tragedy, the Talawa saga has become a symbol of perseverance, exploration, and historical justice. To say this is more than just a silver treasure would be no exaggeration. It is a treasure of memory, a record of hundreds of lives, a turbulent era, and the secrets the ocean kept hidden for over 8 decades. The legendary ghost ship of explorer, Ernest Shackleton. A ship buried beneath the icy ocean for over 60 years has now been found almost intact, lying quietly at a depth of 1,280 feet off the coast of Canada. This is the Quest, the final ship associated with the great explorer Ernest Shackleton, famously known as the Legend of the Antarctic. Did you know? Shackleton led many iconic expeditions to Antarctica, but surprisingly, his last journey ended in tragedy. In January 1922, during his 4th Antarctic expedition aboard the Quest, Shackleton suddenly died of a heart attack while the ship was anchored near South Georgia Island. He passed away at the age of 47, right on his ship, and was buried there. From that moment on, the Quest became more than just a ship. It became a living symbol of a heroic era of exploration. So why did the discovery of the Quest send shockwaves through archaeologists and historians worldwide? Simply because it is the final piece of Shackleton's legendary journey, and finding it is like discovering a time machine resting at the bottom of the ocean. Of course, the search was far from easy. An international team of experts spent months analyzing maps, maritime data, and historical reports to narrow down the possible location. Finally, on June 9th, after 17 hours of sonar scanning across an area larger than 17 square miles, the Quest revealed itself, standing upright, with its stern deeply embedded in the seabed due to the heavy machinery inside. Doesn't that send chills down your spine? A ship that once sailed past towering polar icebergs, carrying priceless historical artifacts, now lies motionless but nearly intact, as if still waiting for Shackleton's return. After Shackleton's death, the Quest did not stop its journey. It continued to sail, sold to a Norwegian company, converted into a seal hunting vessel, and remained active in cold waters until 1962. That year, it collided with ice in the Labrador Sea and sank. Remarkably, the location marked by the crew that day is only about 1.5 miles from where the quest was found. Isn't that incredible accuracy? The Royal Canadian Geographic Society, which led the search, stated this discovery marks one of the final chapters in the extraordinary story of Shackleton. And the journey is not over. In the next phase of the expedition, they plan to use remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, to get closer, film the shipwreck, and possibly recover artifacts inside, unveiling details never known before. 17th century pirate shipwreck discovered. Lying silently at a depth of 2,720 feet beneath the deep blue waters of the Strait of Gibraltar, the narrow body of water separating Spain and Morocco, a 46-foot-long wreck has just been confirmed as the first known shipwreck belonging to the infamous Barbary pirates. No longer just legend or rumor about raiding ships that once terrorized the Mediterranean, this discovery is tangible evidence of a dark historical era when the seas were ruled by human hunters, pirates who specialized in slave-taking and ransom. This is not just a groundbreaking archaeological find, it is a key that may unlock secrets buried by time and tide for over 300 years. The stunning discovery was made by Odyssey Marine Exploration, OME, a Florida-based deep-sea exploration company. Originally, the team began surveying the area back in 2005, searching for the wreck of the British warship HMS Sussex, which sank in 1694. But during the expedition, they stumbled upon an unusual wreck with characteristics that didn't match their target. It wasn't until nearly 2 decades later, after detailed analysis and cross-referencing with historical data, that experts were able to officially announce in WreckWatch magazine that the vessel in question had belonged to a Barbary pirate crew, the very pirates who had once shaken all of Europe throughout the 17th and 18th centuries. According to marine archaeologist Sean Kingsley, what makes this discovery especially significant is the ship's location, right in the heart of Barbary waters, the central zone of North African pirate activity for centuries. The Barbary pirates, primarily Muslim corsairs from regions like Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli, then under the Ottoman Empire, were the stuff of nightmares for any ship passing through the Mediterranean. From the 15th to the early 19th century, these pirate bands were notorious for capturing European merchant ships, enslaving their crews, or ransoming them for massive sums from wealthy governments. Some of their raids even reached peaceful fishing villages along the coasts of France, Spain, Italy, and astonishingly, as far north as Iceland. There is no doubt about the intended use of this vessel, based on what was found. Using remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, the archaeological team observed a range of features typical of a pirate warship. 4 large swivel guns, 10 smaller cannons, and numerous muskets, all standard pirate weapons for fast, brutal raids at sea. The ship also carried a spyglass, an advanced telescopic tool of the era used to track distant targets, showing just how well-equipped these pirates were for stealth attacks. The vessel's structure resembled that of a typical fishing boat, with triangular sails on 2 large masts and a flexible rowing system, a deceptive design that allowed pirates to approach targets without raising suspicion. According to Kingsley, this disguise was essential to their strategy, helping them get close enough to strike before their enemies could react. Even the remaining cargo on board suggests trickery. Items like pots and pans manufactured in Algiers may have been used to pass off the voyage as a legitimate trade mission, fooling European patrols or merchants into letting their guard down. What adds even more value to this find is the historical backdrop of the Barbary pirates' decline. By the early 19th century, after more than 200 years of dominance, North African piracy was being systematically crushed by European military campaigns. Most notably during the First and Second Barbary Wars, when the United States confronted Barbary states like Algiers and Tripoli. These violent confrontations not only ended the era of these infamous pirates, but also contributed to the eventual collapse of the Mediterranean slave trade. The Barbary pirate shipwreck at the bottom of the Strait of Gibraltar is more than just a fragment of the past. It is a mirror reflecting the deep conflicts, power struggles, and desperate survival tactics of a turbulent era. It was a time when the sea was not a symbol of freedom, but a ruthless battleground where humans hunted one another for power and profit. This discovery presents a rare and valuable opportunity for maritime historians, archaeologists, and anthropologists alike, as this is one of the very few Barbary pirate shipwrecks ever found, and in good enough condition to reconstruct its story. With each artifact recovered, with every decayed wooden beam brought up from the deep, the past is coming alive, not as romanticized pirate myths from novels, but as raw, brutal historical truth. And sometimes it's these forgotten wrecks lying beneath the ocean floor that hold the darkest, yet most captivating chapters in the history of humankind. The gold-laden ship lost for 500 years suddenly emerges in the Namibian desert. In 1533, a mysterious event shook the maritime world. A ship loaded with gold, precious gems, and treasures vanished without a trace while on its way to India. This ship didn't just carry millions in material wealth, it also carried the fate of its entire crew. Yet no one could have imagined that nearly 500 years later, a chance discovery in the arid Namibian desert would unravel all the mysteries surrounding this vessel. The Portuguese ship, the Bom Jesus, was believed to be carrying an enormous treasure trove, including gold, jewels, and countless valuable artifacts. It set sail from Portugal in 1533, but never reached its destination. Despite many theories over the centuries, the disappearance of this ship remained one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. Until 2008, when a group of diamond miners accidentally uncovered traces of the ship thousands of miles inland in the Namib Desert. The story of the Bom Jesus seemed lost to time until a team from Namdeb Diamond Mining Company, working in the desert, started digging through the thick sand. They began to uncover fragments of wood and metal unlike anything they had seen before. Surprised by their find, they immediately contacted Dr. Dieter Nolli, a renowned scientist based in South Africa. Under Dr. Nolli's guidance, the excavation team quickly realized that the Namib Desert had once been a bustling coastline, frequently battered by powerful storms. This helped explain how a shipwreck could end up far inland in what is now a desert. Excavations officially began, and after a tense week of work, archaeologists and miners uncovered a miraculous treasure, a cache filled with gold coins. Within just 45 minutes of digging, they had recovered 24 pounds of gold coins, an astonishing haul unlike any previous excavation. Analysis revealed that the coins were minted between 1525 and 1538, perfectly matching the timeline when the Bom Jesus was lost. But the treasure wasn't limited to gold alone. The team also found an array of priceless artifacts: bronze bowls, copper ingots, over 50 ivory tusks, ancient astronomical instruments, compasses, swords, and even matchlock firearms dating back 500 years. In addition, well-preserved Portuguese silver coins were discovered. In total, more than 5,400 artifacts were recovered from the shipwreck site, including over 2,000 gold coins. At this point, archaeologists confirmed that this was no ordinary shipwreck. It was indeed the Bom Jesus, the legendary ship historians had long dreamed of finding. The gold coins, ivory tusks, and other artifacts stand as testament to the immense wealth and mystery carried by this vessel. This discovery not only solves one of maritime history's greatest enigmas, but also raises new questions about ancient ships, daring ocean voyages, and treasures never before found. The Bom Jesus' treasure is more than just material wealth. It symbolizes the power and influence of the Portuguese Empire in the 16th century. The story of the Bom Jesus and its treasure will surely continue to captivate generations of researchers, treasure hunters, and history enthusiasts alike. It is one of the rare mysteries that modern science and technology have been able to decode, revealing surprising answers. And even after more than 500 years, the tale of this legendary ship lives on, standing as proof of a golden age of seafaring and endless adventure. Truly, this is an impressive archaeological discovery, isn't it? The $20 billion treasure shipwreck beneath the Caribbean Sea. Over 3 centuries ago, one of the bloodiest and most mysterious shipwrecks in maritime history occurred off the coast of the port city of Cartagena, Colombia. Today, a new chapter is being written beneath the waters of the Caribbean, as the Colombian government officially launches the first phase of an expedition to the legendary warship San Jose, a vessel long hailed as the holy grail of treasure shipwrecks. But did you know that the San Jose is more than just a ship? It's a symbol of power, wealth, and tragedy from the height of the Spanish Empire in the 18th century. With its towering 3 masts, 62 cannons ready for battle, and a massive treasure cargo filled with gold, silver, emeralds, and rare goods from Peru, the San Jose was the crown jewel of the Spanish fleet. But on June 8, 1708, during a fierce naval battle against British ships in the War of Spanish Succession, the legendary vessel was sunk, taking 600 lives and an estimated $20 billion worth of treasure to the bottom of the sea. Now, after centuries buried in cold sand and darkness, the San Jose is slowly revealing secrets long lost to time. The expedition, organized by Colombia's National Institute of Anthropology and History, ICANH, is using cutting-edge archaeological technology, including non-invasive remote sensors, acoustic positioning systems, and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, to capture detailed imagery of the wreck. These images are being used not only to create an inventory of the artifacts, but also to lay the foundation for future archaeological recovery phases. What makes this even more remarkable is that the entire wreck site has been officially declared a protected archaeological zone to preserve its scientific, cultural, and historical value from disturbance. Authorities emphasize that the primary goal of the project is not the treasure, but rather the historical discovery, to reconstruct what happened on that fateful night in 1708, and to better understand how the ship's contents connect with the political and economic dynamics of Europe at the time. But do you think that's where the story ends? Not even close. The San Jose is now at the center of a dramatic legal battle. A US-based marine salvage company, Sea Search Armada, SSA, claims it was the first to discover the wreck back in the 1980s, not Colombia in 2015. And guess what? They're suing the Colombian government in the Permanent Court of Arbitration, demanding rights to half of the treasure, a staggering $10 billion. While courts argue over ownership, the ocean continues to guard its secrets. The San Jose still lies beneath the Caribbean Sea, a silent witness to centuries of conflict, conquest, and human greed. Will we soon witness a groundbreaking moment in archaeological history as Colombia moves forward in recovering and analyzing this treasure? Or is this turning into a brutal race between science and self-interest? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. The weapon chest at the 15th century floating castle and the conspiracy behind the Danish king's flagship explosion. A centuries-old weapon chest has just been discovered on the wreck of Gribshunden, the warship famously known as the floating castle of the Danish royal fleet. And you won't believe it, this chest may be the key to unraveling the mysterious explosion in 1495 that sank the entire ship, along with King Hans's dream of uniting Northern Europe deep beneath the Baltic Sea. A magnificent ship, carrying weapons, mercenaries, and the political ambitions of a king, suddenly exploded at anchor without any warning. This is not historical fiction, but the true story of Gribshunden, the flagship of King Hans of Denmark. The incident happened in 1495, while the ship was anchored off the town of Ronneby in southern Sweden. A sudden fire broke out, triggering an explosion in the ship's gunpowder magazine. The entire Gribshunden sank. King Hans narrowly escaped disaster since he was not aboard at the time, but the event stalled efforts to unify the three Nordic kingdoms, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, under a single crown. More than 500 years later, underwater archaeologists in Sweden recorded a shocking discovery: a chest believed to be a zuglod, a powder magazine chest, found nearly intact on the seabed near the Gribshunden wreck. What's particularly remarkable is what was inside the chest: lead casting molds, molten lead sheets, and cylindrical cartridge cases. Vivid evidence of the evolving warfare technology at the close of the 15th century. Do you see anything strange? The chest is not merely a weapon container, it symbolizes a silent revolution. From hand-to-hand combat and direct confrontation, humans began to harness gunpowder to strike from a distance. According to archaeologist Rolf Warming, who directly studied the shipwreck, this marked the beginning of a military evolution at sea. However, he also noted that this shift took over a century to spread throughout Europe. Interestingly, the research team suspects the weapon chest belonged to a group of German-speaking mercenaries accompanying the Gribshunden. Alongside the chest, they also found a copper chainmail armor piece produced in Nuremberg, Germany, in the early 1400s, reinforcing the hypothesis of mercenary forces aboard the ship. The chest still rests underwater, but the archaeologists have employed advanced 3D photogrammetry to create detailed models for preservation and study. This weapon chest, if successfully recovered, could be the missing piece that helps scientists answer the biggest question. Was the Gribshunden explosion merely an accident or a politically motivated sabotage? The sinking occurred at a time when King Hans was actively trying to persuade Sweden to rejoin the Kalmar Union, a powerful alliance uniting the three Nordic kingdoms. When the ship was destroyed, that political dream was shattered. Could someone have wanted to prevent that unity? Although the answer remains buried beneath layers of Baltic Sea mud, each artifact recovered from Gribshunden sheds new light on a history once thought lost. And you know what? The journey to uncover the secrets of this royal ship has only just begun. It's quite possible that this mysterious weapon chest will open an entirely new chapter in medieval European history. The 7 shocking recent archaeological discoveries that left scientists speechless. The 42 child skeletons sacrificed during 15th century drought. A dark and haunting chapter of human history has just been unearthed beneath the Templo Mayor, the mysterious religious heart of the ancient Aztec Empire. In a place once filled with sacred chants and spiritual rituals, archaeologists have uncovered undeniable evidence of one of the most shocking mass child sacrifices in the history of the Americas. At least 42 children, aged just 2 to 7 years old, were offered up in a desperate plea to the rain god Tlaloc, hoping he would end a devastating drought. And this isn't a vague legend, it's what archaeologists have literally uncovered, seen with their own eyes and touched with their own hands, in the very heart of ancient Tenochtitlan, what we now know as Mexico City. Can you imagine it? A mighty city-state, rich in culture and spirituality like Tenochtitlan, choosing such a bloody path to try and save its people from starvation. According to research presented at the Water and Life Symposium at the National Autonomous University of Mexico, the remains found at the Templo Mayor were carefully arranged, each child laid on their back with arms and legs tucked, placed neatly in sturdy stone boxes set into the sandy ground. This wasn't a chaotic act, it was a meticulously planned ritual. Some of the bodies were even found wearing jewelry, gemstone necklaces, and in some cases, green stones placed in their mouths. These weren't just offerings, they were chosen with intent. Children were seen as pure, and the green stones, symbols of water, were believed to guide their souls to the gods, pleading for life. But why children? That question sends chills down anyone's spine. In Aztec belief, Tlaloc, the god of rain, water, and crops, needed to be convinced by the sacrifice of the most innocent souls. They believed that a child's cries during the sacrifice were the most powerful plea to the gods, and a sign that the ritual had been accepted. Terrifying? Yes, but try putting yourself in their shoes and you might begin to understand. According to archaeologist Leonardo Lopez Lujan, lead researcher of the Templo Mayor project, the Aztec authorities initially tried to fight the drought by opening the royal granaries, sharing food with the poor. But when that failed, they turned to the divine, and the children, many likely sold by starving families, became the bridge between humans and gods. What's even more chilling is how all these details line up with geological evidence and data from the Mexican Drought Atlas, which shows central Mexico was hit by a severe drought from 1452 to 1454. During that time, crops wouldn't sprout, corn failed to flower, and hunger tightened its grip across all levels of society. Under the rule of Moctezuma I, while the Templo Mayor was still under construction, the drought not only destroyed harvests, it pushed families to sell their children for food. We can barely imagine the severity of that crisis. Picture this. The drought strikes in early summer, halting all plant growth. Then, an unexpected frost hits in autumn, killing what little had survived. Two natural disasters, back to back, delivering a knockout blow to agriculture. And in desperation, the Aztecs chose the most heartbreaking form of prayer. In those ancient soil layers, archaeologists also found blue pigments, seashells, tiny birds, and volcanic stone figurines buried alongside the bodies. All symbols of Tlaloc, his face carved repeatedly as if to emphasize this was not a crime, but a sacred offering. But did the gods ever hear those prayers? No one knows for sure what happened next. What we do know is that the crisis eventually forced entire communities to abandon their sacred lands and migrate elsewhere. But the cost of that drought wasn't just lost land or crops, it was 42 young lives, buried in cold stone and sand, a brutal testament to absolute faith in divine salvation. The mysterious mural, deep in the Amazon rainforest. The debate over prehistoric civilizations has always been a war of words. Many legends may hold some truth, yet the evidence is often elusive and difficult to verify. Even Atlantis was documented in dialogues by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, yet no physical proof has ever been found. However, a recent discovery by a team of British and Colombian archaeologists deep in the Amazon rainforest has left experts stunned. A breathtaking prehistoric mural, whose connection to Atlantis remains unclear, but whose sophistication seriously challenges our understanding of ancient civilizations. These paintings were found at 3 different sites, the largest being at Cerro Azul, where archaeologists uncovered 12 massive rock murals along with countless hieroglyphs. The artwork includes depictions of giant sloths, camels, horses, and 3-toed sloths. Some murals even show scenes of daily life and hunting from that time. What's truly astonishing is that, if the proportions between the animals and humans depicted are accurate, many of these creatures would have been the size of a car. Even more mysterious are images of half-human, half-animal monsters and figures wearing bird masks, raising the question, were these depictions of religious rituals, mythological beliefs, or literal representations of the world as they saw it? So, who created these murals? And to which prehistoric civilization did they belong? The most famous civilization in Central America is undoubtedly the Maya, which began to emerge before 2000 BCE. Starting from early agricultural development, a relatively complex society gradually formed. By around 750 BCE, early cities and large-scale ritual sacrifices were already present. Structures, temples, and even hieroglyphic writing appeared by 300 BCE. Eventually, the Maya civilization entered its golden age. Cities became city-states, connected through complex trade networks. At its peak, there were hundreds of Maya settlements across Central America. Then, suddenly, it all collapsed. For unknown reasons, many of these settlements were abandoned, left in ruins. The Maya civilization never recovered. By the late 17th century, the last Maya city-state, Nochpeten, was conquered by the Spanish, and the Maya civilization disappeared completely. All that remains are legends passed down in Central America, with many Hollywood productions using Maya mythology as inspiration. For example, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull tells of aliens in the Maya region. In the story, separate crystal skulls were taken and couldn't be reassembled until Indiana Jones returned them, reuniting the skulls and causing the entire underground structure to launch back into space, returning to its home planet. While clearly fiction, the key idea remains. The Maya civilization is incredibly mysterious, and much about it is still unknown and unexplored. However, according to archaeologists, the Amazon murals date back to the Ice Age, roughly 12,600 to 11,800 years ago, a time when glaciers covering the mid-latitudes had just begun to melt. Located near the equator, this area enjoyed a warm and humid climate year-round, making it one of the most livable regions during the Ice Age. The mysterious mummy, inside an Egyptian pyramid. Amid the vast desert west of the Nile River, once the beating heart of the powerful ancient Egyptian empire, a secret that had slept for over 4,000 years suddenly came to light. In 2020, at the royal necropolis of Dahshur, where kings and queens of the Middle Kingdom were laid to rest, archaeologists made an unprecedented discovery. Inside a pyramid once believed to be the final resting place of a pharaoh, they did not find the mummy of a king, but rather a woman. This revelation sent shockwaves through the archaeological and Egyptological communities around the world. After all, pyramids have long been seen as the ultimate symbols of royal power, exclusively reserved for kings. No queen, prince, or any other individual had ever been buried in such a grand and sacred structure. Specifically, when Dr. Yasmin El-Shazly and her team ventured deep into the burial chamber and laid eyes on the exquisitely carved sarcophagus at the heart of the pyramid, they were certain they had uncovered the tomb of an unknown pharaoh. But the truth left everyone stunned. As they reassembled the shattered pieces of the sarcophagus lid, the face that emerged didn't bear the strong, commanding features of a king. Instead, it depicted a woman, wearing a Hathor-style wig, a sacred symbol often associated with noble women of ancient Egypt. Everything pointed to one conclusion. This was no king. This was a princess. Right beside the mummy, the team found a wooden chest inscribed with hieroglyphs. While much of the text had been damaged over time, the remaining characters were enough to reveal a shocking detail. She was the daughter of the king, a princess buried in a pyramid, something never before recorded in the history of ancient Egypt. If confirmed, this discovery could completely overturn what we thought we knew about royal burial practices during the Middle Kingdom. According to Professor Aidan Dodson of the University of Bristol, even a royal daughter, no matter how noble her bloodline, would typically be buried in a smaller tomb outside the royal complex. A pyramid burial was a privilege reserved for pharaohs. There has never been an exception, until now. So, what made this woman, though a princess by title, worthy of burial in one of the most sacred and powerful structures of her dynasty? Several theories have been proposed. Could she have played a crucial political or religious role? Perhaps she was a high priestess, or even a chosen successor to the throne during a time of political crisis. The Middle Kingdom was known for its upheaval, not only politically, but also in terms of shifting royal rituals and evolving roles for women in power. Unfortunately, the most frustrating mystery remains: her identity. The section of the sarcophagus where her name was once carved has been destroyed, possibly by time, or perhaps deliberately erased by human hands in an attempt to obliterate her legacy. So all we're left with is a mummy, a carved wooden face, and a host of unanswered questions. Experts are now conducting DNA analysis and comparing artifacts found within the tomb to ancient records, hoping to uncover connections that might reveal who this woman truly was. No one knows how this princess lived, what power she held, or why she was honored like a king. But one thing is certain: her existence changes everything we thought we knew about pyramids, royal burial traditions, and the role of women in ancient Egypt. Perhaps beneath the burning sands of the desert, there are still more pyramids waiting to be uncovered. And who knows? Perhaps more forgotten women, their bodies carefully wrapped and entombed, are still waiting to be brought into the light. They are not just witnesses of a long-lost era, but keys to stories yet untold. And until the true identity of the Dashur princess is revealed, her mummy will continue to lie there, silent but defiant, like a timeless riddle, waiting for the day humanity is wise enough to solve the mystery she took with her into the earth thousands of years ago. The 2,300-year-old mummy of a woman with eyes still open. In 2010, Egyptian archaeologists uncovered the 2,300-year-old mummy of a woman at the Bahariya Oasis, located in the Libyan desert, approximately 186 miles southwest of Cairo. This discovery was part of an excavation of 14 tombs, and according to Egypt's Ministry of Culture, these tombs may be part of a much larger burial site. The mummy was found inside a plaster sarcophagus, about 3.3 feet in length, intricately carved and uniquely shaped. The coffin was modeled after Roman-style clothing, featuring a long robe, a headscarf, bracelets, a necklace, and shoes, clearly highlighting the influence of Roman culture during this period. What stood out most were two gemstones placed in the eye sockets of the sarcophagus. This detail gave the eerie impression that the mummy was still alive, creating a remarkably lifelike appearance. According to Dr. Zahi Hawass, then Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the archaeological team believes the mummy belonged to a woman, possibly someone of small stature or a young girl. Even more fascinating was the tomb's unique design, featuring staircases and corridors, and believed to have been built around 300 BCE. In addition, the archaeologists unearthed numerous coins, glass and ceramic jars, funerary masks, and a gold fragment depicting the four sons of Horus, key deities in ancient Egyptian belief. But why were they included? That's because the ancient Egyptians believed that the four sons of Horus protected the body's most vital organs in the afterlife. The Bahariya Oasis is well known for major archaeological discoveries, and this is not the first time mummies have been found there. Back in 1996, a massive discovery was made. 17 tombs containing 254 mummies were unearthed. These finds date back to the Greco-Roman period in Egypt, which began with Alexander the Great's conquest in 332 BCE. Although Alexander was a king of Macedonia, during his reign in Egypt, the country came under strong Greek cultural influence, especially among officials and the ruling elite. It's likely that the fusion of Greek and Egyptian traditions led to distinct characteristics in the region's artistic and architectural styles. The recent discoveries at Bahariya Oasis further illuminate this cultural interplay, opening new doors to better understand the daily life, beliefs, and funerary customs of ancient Egyptians during the Greco-Roman era. Giant skeletons found in China. Chinese archaeologists have discovered the skeletons of giants in Shandong Province, eastern China, some of whom measured over 6 feet 3 inches tall, with several others standing at least 5 feet 11 inches. Fang Hui, head of the School of History and Culture at Shandong University, explained, "This discovery is based on skeletal analysis. In reality, these individuals were likely even taller when they were alive." However, archaeologists also found clear damage to the skulls and leg bones of several remains, as well as pottery and jade artifacts in 6 large tombs. These injuries may have occurred shortly after burial and could be linked to power struggles among individuals of high social status. The skeletal remains were found at a special excavation site in Jiaojia village, located in Jiangqiu, part of Jinan City, Shandong Province. Since 2016, the site has yielded the remains of 104 houses, 205 graves, and 20 sacrificial pits. These remarkable bones originate from a Neolithic civilization dating back 4,500 to 5,000 years. They lived in the lower reaches of the Yellow River, although little is known about this region during that time. Interestingly, Confucius, 551 to 479 BCE, the renowned Chinese philosopher from Shandong, was also said to be quite tall, around 6 feet 3 inches. The people of Shandong take pride in their region's notable height. As of 2015, the average height of men in Shandong was about 5 feet 9 inches, compared to the national average of 5 feet 8 inches. Fang noted, "By that time, agriculture was already developed. People had access to abundant and nutritious food, which influenced their physical development. Millet was the main crop in the region. Additionally, the people raised pigs, as evidenced by pig bones and teeth found in several graves. The remains of ancient homes at the site suggest that the people of ancient Shandong lived in relative comfort, with separate bedrooms and kitchens. By Western standards, a height of 6 feet 3 inches might be considered average, but in ancient China, this would have been exceptionally tall. This raises fascinating questions for scientists about whether a giant tribe once existed in ancient China, a mystery that still awaits further answers. A mysterious tomb with over 6 million human remains beneath Paris. This subterranean labyrinth is the Catacombs of Paris, a massive underground ossuary holding more than 6 million human remains dating back to the 18th century. The sheer existence of the catacombs is chilling enough, but the reason behind their creation is what truly gives us goosebumps. Back in the mid-18th century, Paris had risen to become one of the most civilized and prosperous cities in Europe. Yet with that rapid growth came a serious problem: overcrowded cemeteries. Decomposing corpses polluted the environment, and authorities had to act fast to prevent a public health catastrophe. Fortunately, beneath the city lay a vast abandoned network of limestone quarries. These tunnels had hollowed out Paris's foundation, making the ground unstable and prone to collapse. Consolidating the tunnel walls and relieving cemetery overcrowding became a dual-purpose solution. A visionary architect proposed relocating human remains, the skeletons, from overfilled cemeteries into the empty quarry shafts. Over the course of 2 years, the remains of millions of Parisians were quietly transferred at night into the catacombs beneath the city. One might assume the catacombs would remain a cold, desolate place, but thanks to the forward-thinking leadership of Emperor Napoleon, they were transformed into an eerily intriguing tourist attraction. With so many bones housed together, the catacombs have naturally inspired numerous urban legends. Rumor has it that sometimes you can see apparitions drifting through the endless corridors. Some even claim there are secret chambers deep within, used by occult societies devoted to figures like Satan, Valak, or Paimon. A particularly chilling warning persists: do not attempt seance or spirit calling here, because in doing so, you might unwittingly open a portal to the underworld and become haunted by countless souls. 130,000-year-old fossilized mummy of a man found in a mine. The fossil of a man naturally mummified for 130,000 years has been named Altamura Man by scientists. Due to the crystallization of minerals in the cave over more than 130,000 years, his body now appears to be lying among thousands of coral-like formations. Altamura Man's remains are located in a highly inaccessible area. Reaching it requires a 20-minute crawl through narrow underground crevices. Because of this, experts have not yet been able to bring the fossil to the surface. Through a series of studies and tests, scientists have confirmed that Altamura Man was a Neanderthal. This is likely one of the best preserved Neanderthal skeletons ever discovered. However, at first glance, many who saw him were so terrified by his appearance that they instinctively covered their mouths and fled. A 2016 study based on DNA analysis from his shoulder bone determined that Altamura Man lived between 130,000 and 172,000 years ago. Researchers also discovered additional information about his teeth through photographs, video footage, and X-ray images. Like other Neanderthals, Altamura Man had larger front teeth than modern humans, while his molars were similar in size. Notably, his jaw, partially preserved with soft tissue, revealed signs of gum disease and tartar buildup. Neanderthals had broader jaws and lacked the prominent chins seen in modern humans. Analysis of wear patterns and tartar on his other teeth provided scientists with more insight into his diet and how Neanderthals may have used their teeth for tasks beyond eating. It is believed that Altamura Man fell into a deep hole that he couldn't see and was unable to find a way out. With no one to rescue him, he likely died from hunger and thirst, a painfully slow death. Characterized by a large, sturdy skeletal frame and thick brow ridges, Neanderthals bore a strong resemblance to us and lived across many regions of the European continent for over 300,000 years. Neanderthals were a resilient group of humans. In fact, they survived around 200,000 years longer than us, Homo sapiens or modern humans. Evidence of their existence disappeared about 28,000 years ago, offering an estimate of when they may have gone extinct. Dear friends, from ancient civilizations to mysterious mummies, each of the discoveries mentioned above holds unanswered questions and continues to astonish scientists. These findings not only change the way we view the past, but also inspire further research and exploration, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. So, which of these discoveries impressed you the most? Let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.